Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, happy QAnon Christmas to you, little buddy.
Crudy, happy QAnon Christmas to you as well. Fancy Brian, our fair audience. Happy Q, everybody. Today is the day Donald Trump to be inaugurated president of the United States. What a day. This is historic.
As it's known here locally, Ronanon.
It's Ronanon. Happy Ronanon, everybody.
Dominic, going to have a big show for the people today. But first and foremost, I wonder, is there disappointment growing amongst the Q supportive? Isn't this supposed to be the rapturous, day where Donald Trump gets inaugurated? It's like where the rapture meets White Lives Matter.
All will be revealed to those who believe. Trust the plan for a plan.
Well, Dominic, there's the big lie. The big lie, of course, is that Donald Trump won the election. And somehow it was stolen from him and given to Joe Biden, mostly through harvested absentee ballots of some sort. Probably in Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, and,
Right.
Maybe Nevada. I forget all the states. But then there's the bigger lie, the Q conspiracy, Dom, that goes beyond our guy was screwed to our guy is going to be raised up on some sort of political cross, and he's going to be the president again. This is going to be a disappointing night for someone's crying themselves tearfully, to sleep tonight. And it's probably Scott Walker and others.
Will be back
quickly.
in some form.
Yeah, some form. Julian Brockle at the Washington Post notes that this is not the first day QAnon followers have predicted Trump will reveal himself as an American savior. Other dates, according to the reporting, include, but are not limited to, December 8th of 2020, December 14th of 2020, January 6th, 2021. Remember that? The attempt by followers to make this prophecy come true notwithstanding. Also on January 20th of 2021. So how many times are you supposed to be risen up into the QAnon rapture and it doesn't happen and you still continue to believe it?
Oh, ye of little faith.
Ye have no faith, man.
You just didn't pray for it hard enough yet. Today will be the day. I feel quite
confident. I swear, today it's going to happen.
On the cable news this morning, I was watching somebody's coverage of DC, and I noted the newscaster was like 2.5 miles away from the Capitol behind chain link fence that was like 10 feet high. I'm thinking there's not going to be any trouble in DC today. The House of Representatives is not meeting, apparently in response to chatter picked up by the FBI and first brought to our attention by Ron Anon himself. Ron Johnson, the senator from the great state of Wisconsin, in the Judiciary Committee over on the Senate side, asked some questions specifically about this chatter. Well, that doesn't sound like the chatter of jovial people, Ron.
Not very festive, not staying between the lines, apparently.
But the House apparently not in operation today. They did pass some meaningful legislation, at least through their body. The Senate is working today. Ron's there, hoping to be raptured up themselves, Dom, apparently.
Well, hell, if the QAnon Christmas is to commence today, worst case, maybe we can just offer up Ron to the QAnon gods and they'll just go away. But I do want to be serious just for a moment, if I have to. The fact that our Congress has literally adjusted their schedule to respond to domestic terrorist threats. That's the headline. That's what this is all about. And we've seen Republicans say, tear down this wall. We have no need for this. Yet this chatter continues. Domestic terrorism metastasizing, as FBI Director Wray has said.
Now, Dominic, you posted a article from the CBS News. They interviewed one of the insurrectionists, the QAnon shaman himself. And I want to quote briefly from this fine reporting. Speaking for the first time from jail, the man known as the QAnon shaman told 60 Minutes correspondent Lori Siegel he doesn't think his actions during the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol were an attack on the nation. No, they weren't, ma'am. My actions were not an attack on this country. That is incorrect. That is inaccurate entirely, Jacob Chansley said in an excerpt from the interview that aired on CBS this morning. Video allegedly shows Chansley on the Senate floor during the insurrection, bare-chested.
Hey, you're supposed to wear a jacket, man.
Bare-chested and wearing a fur helmet with horns. Very similar to the stuff I see people wearing to Vikings games, but let me read on. He was arrested shortly after and now faces up to 20 years behind bars. A judge will hear arguments Friday on whether he should be released from jail before trial. Describing his actions on January 6th, this is the important part, Tom. Chansley said, well, I sang a song, and that's part of the shamanism. It's about creating positive vibrations in a sacred chamber. Is that what you were doing? I also stopped people from stealing and vandalizing that sacred space, the Senate. Okay, I actually stopped somebody from stealing muffins out of the break room. And I also said a prayer in that sacred chamber because it was my intention to bring divinity and to bring God back into the Senate. But Jake, legally, you're not allowed to be in what you're calling the sacred chamber, Siegel said to Chansley. And that is the one very serious regret that I have was believing that when we were waved in by the police officers, that it was acceptable. People died that day, like 5 of them, and some apparently denied muffins.
Wow, what a patriot, Crudy. He stopped the insurrectionist, Trumpster, QAnon, riotous mob from stealing the muffins. I mean, really,
that's pillaging the muffins, please.
I mean, that's out of hand. Gouging of the eyes, bear spray, breaking windows, trampling someone to death, the murder, seemingly of a Capitol Police officer. You know, those things. But the muffins, man, don't mess with the muffin, man.
Sure, I'll be a insurrectionist, a seditionist, but muffin stealer, do not put that on my resume.
You can put feces all over the walls.
We're not clear what
feces everywhere.
That guy, but the outfit sort of a tell that he was different than some of the others. More or less jovial.
Crudy, an affidavit from his arrest says investigators were able to identify him as one of the men on the Senate floor by his tattoos and unique attire, matching them with his Facebook account. Ooh, they just
went on his Facebook
there, man.
Do you recall that day? He had a very accessible public Facebook account. Yeah. He was the QAnon shaman.
Now, the affidavit also says he voluntarily called the FBI the day after the insurrection, admitting he was the man seen wearing a headdress and face paint while sitting in Vice President Mike Pence's chair in the Senate. During the call, he told law enforcement he came as part of a group effort with other patriots from Arizona at the request of President Trump that all patriots come to D.C. on January 6th. Crudy, why weren't you there? Asked if he still considers himself to be a patriot, he said, I consider myself a lover of my country. I consider myself a believer in the Constitution. I consider myself a believer in truth and our founding principles. I consider myself a believer in God. He said that he believed President Trump had our back and expressed disappointment when he didn't receive a pardon from the former president. When asked whether he regretted his loyalty to Trump, he said, while he regrets entering the building with every fiber of my being, he doesn't regret his loyalty to the former president. Of course he doesn't, because the cult members have got to have themselves a cult leader, and that's Trump. Happy Q, everyone.
Dominic, you posted an article. I'd like to get part of it out here. The Raw story, one of my favorite sources. QAnon evangelical crossbreeding is creating America's own Al-Qaeda radicals. Let me read.
Oh, please do.
The QAnon conspiracy movement is cross-pollinating with evangelical Christianity, and experts on extremism are worried about an increasingly radicalized religious movement. The cult-like conspiracy system and conservative Christianity are influencing one another and creating potentially violent fanatics under the stress of the coronavirus pandemic and the resulting economic fallout. And both movements are angry and bitter over the former President Donald Trump's election loss, which they believe was fraudulent, reported The Independent. Something disturbing has happened with evangelicals in this country, where we have become prone to conspiracies and believing the worst about our enemies, where we end up placing the Republican Party and ourselves as Americans first before true Christianity. Amen, Pastor David Rice, who leads a Markey Church in Michigan, said a woman complained his sermon on the U.S. Capitol riot was too political and followed up with a litany of conspiratorial fantasies about President Joe Biden, Antifa, Black Lives Matters, and that was strongly influenced by QAnon beliefs. And the pastor tried to talk her down. You need to know how crazy that is. I mean, says the pastor, you have been with my family in my home and I care for you, but you are dabbling in darkness. You are telling me it's giving you hope. I'm telling you as your pastor, it's evil. The woman hasn't spoken to Rice since, and other pastors report the conspiratorial thinking began rampaging through their congregations during the nationwide Black Lives Matter protest this summer. No, not crazy.
I'm not sure one's influencing the other. I think they are the same. The same people, the same evangelicals are the same ones as the QAnon chanting in the Senate.
Merry QAnon Christmas. Come back. We continue celebrating. Rod and on the other side. More Devil's Advocates. Happy Thursday.
We will be back in some form.
What did you guys do? Take it and do something crazy to it?
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
You're crazy.
Perhaps you think you're being treated unfairly.
I don't know, but I'm suspicious.
When you're trying to stay safe, you want the best protection possible. And when it comes to PPE, that means Lutema. Made in the USA with the highest quality materials, Lutema has mask sizes for all. Lutema masks pass ASTM Level 3 and NIOSH efficiency standards and come in a wide variety of colors and types, including M95i. Get your American-made face mask at Lutema.com. That's Lutema.com. And get 40% off your first purchase single item with promo code RADIO at Lutema.com.
The people voted to give Democrats a mandate for bold action. From COVID relief to climate change and racial injustice, the problems we're facing are large, and we need bold solutions. We can't afford more obstruction from Senator Ron Johnson and the Republicans. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. MoveOn.org political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. Cody and I have been doing this show for almost 10 years, and we've never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now and advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. Get your message out and let the greatest radio audience know how to support your business. Call Luke at 608-819-TALK. That's 608-819-8255. Or go to DARNWI.com. Our friend Scott Russ.
Johnson's going to have this hearing next week. The way in which he has misused and abused his office in order to try and further these crackpot theories he has, he had 2 anti-vaxxer hearings. I don't understand what the point of that is. It's one thing to be like, all right, if you're a Republican, you're like, I'll just try and forget that Trump said we might be able to inject ourselves with bleach to solve this COVID problem. But why would you so revel in your own crapulence that you would actually have several hearings in the United States Senate.
Listen to Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
Grass-fed, locally raised, 100% organic. Dom and Crute are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open. You can join us toll free, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, in a celebratory mood, not so much for QAnon Christmas or Ramadan, but for the fact that we're having a party tonight, a virtual Devil's Advocates after party, 6 to 7 p.m. For all our Patreon supporters, we appreciate them. And we're doing a little uncensored live video QAnon Christmas edition of the show, letting it all hang out, if you will. But,
I think we should absolutely celebrate with our audience and our supporters. I mean, this will be the last day of Joe Biden's presidency, and it will now be Donald Trump, according to the, QAnon and the Renanons.
Yesterday, my wife and I watching MSNBC, and she's like, what? What? As a passive observer of the news, she pays attention to the big headlines, but she doesn't really dig in for the QAnon stuff so much. And she's looking at me like side-eyed, like, what? This cannot be real. But apparently, it is real. And you've got an update on at least one of the perpetrators of the insurrection, one of the QAnon favorites, the one that, plopped his ass down at Nancy Pelosi's desk.
He left a quarter because he's not a thief. Quickly recruiting an Arkansas man who stormed the U.S. Capitol building on January 6th and went viral after photos circulating showed him with his feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk, appeared before a federal judge this Thursday for a status hearing. According to NBC4 investigative reporter Scott McFarlane, Barnett began screaming at attorneys and the judge, saying that it's unfair. He's been locked up for a whole month. Oh, no, your white privilege, you poor man. The judge called for a 5-minute recess as a result. 5-minute recess? How about throw his ass back in the clink? He's been charged with aiding and abetting disorderly conduct in the Capitol building, parading and demonstrating in the Capitol building, and theft of government property. He has pled not guilty on all counts and is currently being held without bond and will remain in custody until his trial. Or as he says, not fair.
Dominic, I thought he pled vegan and gluten-free.
No, that was the shaman, man.
Oh, different guy. Oh,
yes,
my
yes,
bad.
yes.
My bad. Dominic, let's talk about some serious indictments possibly coming down in the state of Georgia. And I'm looking at you, Donald Trump. Trump election fraud investigation in Georgia enters a new phase with a grand jury set to be seated.
Uh-oh.
Convened the grand jury already. CNN reporting a criminal investigation into former President Donald Trump's attempts to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia is set to intensify this week as a grand jury convenes, offering the local district attorney her first shot at seeking subpoenas for records and interviews. Oh, I thought the indictments would come immediately thereafter. Can't you indict a ham sandwich?
I think you can.
And a former president, can you indict him?
Absolutely.
Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis made her investigation intentions clear with a round of letters in Georgia state officials in February asking them to preserve documents related to election interference as she investigated a potential slate of crimes, including the solicitation of election fraud, conspiracy, and here's the one that, might ring in your ears a little bit, Trump, racketeering.
Oof.
According to the letters, none of Georgia's officials are targets of the investigation. Well, geez, if it's not an internal investigation of Georgia officials, I wonder who they'd be investigating. Lordy, I hope there's tapes. I read on. What I was doing as a courtesy to people that I respect very much is simply putting them on notice that when a grand jury convened, which would be in March, that they could expect to receive subpoenas, Willis told MSNBC in February. 2 grand juries are set to convene in Fulton County on Thursday, opening a path for Willis's next phase in her probe. A person familiar with the investigation said they are likely to rely heavily on subpoenas rather than voluntary requests for records and interviews, in part to establish a clear court record of her pursuit of evidence. In the meantime, some officials in Georgia have already hired personal attorneys amid the fallout from Trump's efforts to upend the election results, while Willis's investigation launched from the now infamous call in which Trump pushed Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to find him enough votes to win the state. It's expected to stretch well beyond the single call. There may be nothing there. I giggle at that thought, said a person familiar with the investigation, or it may be more extensive than we thought. I think it might be the latter, Dom. A little bit more here. Willis has said her investigation will expand past Trump's call with Raffensperger to include any efforts to influence the election in Georgia. That wasn't even the only phone call, was it, buddy?
No.
She is also investigating the phone call between Trump loyalist Senator Lindsey Graham on New Declare and Raffensperger, the abrupt departure of Byung B.J. Pack, the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Georgia, and the false allegations of election fraud Rudy Giuliani made before the Georgia legislators.
Crudy, while Willis wasted no time in launching her investigation into the former president, she said during an AP interview that she has no set timeline for completing her inquiry. I'm in no rush. I think people think that I feel this immense pressure. I don't. And 2 grand juries. Why 2? Not clear on that, but this is going to move forward, and it's going to move forward consistently. And I look forward to seeing how this all plays out. But, of course, how you're going to interpret his intent, that will certainly be part of this.
Dominic, a quote here. The way she goes about any cases, she starts at the top and she really dives into it. She follows every lead that she can and kind of exhausted in that way, said Charlie Bailey, who previously worked with Willis in the Fulton County District's Attorney's Office and is running for State Attorney General in 2022. Let the indictments rain. If it's good enough for a ham sandwich, it's good enough for the former president, or perhaps later today, the reclaimed president. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates phone lines open. Dial them up, 844-967-2789. Y'all come back now, you hear?
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
You're all gonna die! But other than that, I wish everybody a very Merry Christmas.
From Columbus to Fox Lake, Devil Radio on WTTN 1580 AM is essential radio to get you through your day.
We're 1 year into the COVID pandemic, and it's clear that we can't afford more obstruction from Republicans like Senator Ron Johnson. He's twice voted against COVID relief bills that would have helped struggling Wisconsin families. We can and we must provide people the relief they need to take care of their families. Together, we can create a better future. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. MoveOn.org. Political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org. Not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hey, Dom, is your carpeting starting to have a little bit of a funk to it?
That's a bit of a personal question, Crudy.
No, I know this is really busy time for one of our sponsors, Zero Res of Madison. People want a cleaner, healthier home.
You mean spending the entire quarantine locked in with bacteria and allergens isn't healthy? Who knew?
You want to get it professionally cleaned well before it gets funky. Even if you vacuum frequently,
I vacuum a lot.
You still need to get it professionally cleaned. Schedule your carpet cleaning online at ZeroResMadison.com. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent.
I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Capitol Police, they're asking for the National Guard to stay and provide security at the Capitol for 2 more months. The Capitol is on high alert following intelligence about a militia group plot to storm the building. The AP's Sagar Magani has the story.
Texas Congressman Michael McCall says lawmakers are braced. After being briefed on the new threat, he said, "I think we'll see some violence here." But he also noted the Capitol's been fortified since January's attack, and more than 5,000 National Guardsmen are still here in Washington. Still, the House last night abruptly ended its work week and is on recess. The The threat appears connected to a far-right conspiracy theory that Donald Trump will again rise to power on March 4th, which for decades was Presidential Inauguration Day. Sagar Magani, Washington.
A police officer in Dallas has been arrested and charged with 2 counts of capital murder. I'm Ed Donahue.
Last night's sleep? Interrupted by pain? Tonight, silence it. With new ZQL Night Pain. Restful sleep, now with powerful pain relief. ZQL Night Pain combines America's #1 sleep aid with a maximum strength pain reliever. So you can fall asleep fast and wake feeling rested, because pain should never get in the way of a great night's sleep. New ZQL Night Pain. Silence pain. Sleep soundly. Available at retailers near you.
A walk and some ice cream with someone sounds like the perfect treat.
Making pizza with someone who's as into it as me? What could be better?
Ready to meet people who love to do the same things you do? It's easy. 1, open laptop. 2, go to OurTime.com. 3, start for free. OurTime is the #1 dating site made for singles over 50. It's easy to use and can help you find people who just want to do something fun. Find someone over 50 who loves to do what you do on OurTime. Go to OurTime.com today and start for free.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Thursday, March 4th. The Assembly Committee on Constitution and Ethics allowed dozens of people to gather in the state capitol yesterday for a public hearing with little social distancing and mostly maskless individuals. Many of the members serving on the committee also did not wear masks. Many of the people testifying were opposed to vaccines and came to denounce government efforts to mitigate the pandemic. Maskless individuals gave testimony that they were opposed to employer mandates for vaccinations, which one of the bills being considered by the committee would outlaw. Sunny skies in the forecast today with slight winds up to 10 miles an hour throughout the day, high today of 37 degrees. Clear skies expected tonight with a slight chance for precipitation, low of 18 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Happy Thursday to us all. Ramadan. We're celebrating it here, Dom.
Happy Ramadan, everybody.
Not only because Ron Johnson overly affected by QAnon conspiracy theories. I mean, if there's a big lie, Ron's buying it. And probably selling it.
He's selling it, man, for sure.
But not only that, Ron Johnson also out there individually. This is the guy that blocked individual stimulus checks of $1,200 each for the American people. And he's got a new plan. Make you people suffer. And we'll get to that in just a moment. But a little bit more on the first version of Ramadan, the Q version. A article, Sarah K. Burris at the Raw Story. Republican former congressman says GOP will continue to fan the flames of violence to rake in more cash.
Oh, cash those checks, baby.
Former Rep. Denver Riggleman, Republican from Virginia, said that he has little hope of the end to violent rhetoric from Republican officials because they make far too much money using it. Speaking to MSNBC's Katie Tur, Riggleman explained that officials like Senator Ron Johnson are well aware of the truth around the January 6th attack on the Capitol. But if he intends to run for re-election in 22, he has to scare off a primary challenger. I think the false flag and big lies are part of the narrative for the 2022 midterms, said Riggleman. And I've said a few times, we could have a real issue, right? With the GOP taking the House back based on the fact that the Stop the Steal messaging works. He noted that the previous report about the reasoning behind a possible March 4th attack made him think that crazy get stuck in their own rabbit holes. And I will be really blunt here. I talked to members of Congress. I was just there, and the type of fundraising is so good at the grassroots level. I don't see that the language going away at all. When you look at some people running in Michigan or Texas, they're still spouting a big lie, false flag, conspiracy narrative. And when you listen to Ron Johnson, that's idiotic, right?
Yes.
That's just a brain cell issue. Or are you pandering for some kind of fundraising, or you're still some kind of Trumpophile that can't seem to get, can't get out of your own way mentality. He went on to say that he can't see how people can look at data and call January 6th a false flag operation. We released a report on this, and we know that there's, at minimum, 7 white nationalist groups that were involved, said Riggleman. And there is people right now that you're interviewing, like Ben and the others, they actually know without a doubt that individuals are going to continue to push this. This has gone well beyond the messiah of President Trump now. This has been institutionalized. Government is not to be trusted. And now the rehash of the New World Order coming out, and I'm not as optimistic as other people that this is going away anytime soon. Well, I'd like to think Ron's going away after the elections in 2022, Don, but maybe this is the buildup for his re-election campaign and the cherry on top, making the American people suffer, trying to block the COVID-19 humanity relief, stimulus relief for suffering American people.
Well, Ron Johnson will continue to do it. And let's not forget, how much money did former President Trump make after the election pushing this theory?
$250 million?
$250 million and counting.
So
and counting.
Ron's a
And let's
rich
not
man.
also forget the RNC, the Republican National Committee. They're also part of this. So, of course, it's throughout the entirety of the QOP or the GQP, whatever we want to call it now. Ronanon is in the lead over there. And yes, he's going to continue to push the big lie and the conspiracy theories. And he's going to continue to make the American people suffer, as he has a track record of doing. The Hill is reporting Alexander Bolton. Ron Johnson, a Republican from Wisconsin, a staunch Trump ally and fiscal conservative, has told colleagues that he plans to force the Senate clerks to read aloud the entire $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief bill on the Senate floor.
Dominic, I and you both read aloud way too much, but I cannot imagine a uninterrupted 7-hour gab fest. I mean, maybe if we were doing it and we could add commentary as we went along, then it might be a worthwhile listen.
Well, then it'd be more than 10 hours.
But this is painful and purposely so.
And my understanding, it has already started. Democrats on Wednesday were grumbling over the prospect of having to factor an additional 10 hours of floor time into passing the bill. Now, Crudy, any senator can force a reading of a bill on the floor, but the formality is almost always skipped by unanimous consent to avoid wasting time. But now with Ronanon, man, he's got all the time in the world to waste. You see, he's a millionaire, and you folks don't need that $1,400. Now, senators are likely to have to spend 10 hours listening to the bill to be read aloud, which will come on top of the 20 hours of debate time scheduled for the legislation. A Republican senator said Johnson will force the reading of the Senate substitute, which will include several changes compared to the 630-page relief bill that passed the House. Quote, I'm told it's going to be more like 10 hours. It's going to occur at the beginning, so it would be before the clock starts, so it doesn't go against the 20 hours. It's on top of the 20, Senate Republican Whip John Thune said. And of course, Crudy, we know the Morning Consult political poll published last week showed 76% of voters and 60% of Republicans support the $1.9 trillion relief package, yet Senate Republicans are putting up stiff resistance to the legislation, characterizing it as wasteful spending. You know, I don't remember them putting all this kind of thought into the $2 trillion tax cuts. That was no debate there. There was no discussion of what we're going to have to borrow in order to fund operations, right? I don't remember all that. But when it comes to actual help for the people, that 76% of voters want, 60% of Republican support, Ron Johnson is going to continue to be running on the Q man and make people waste their time.
Dominic, you found a headline. I also posted it at our Facebook page, the Devil's Advocates Radio. The plumb line, Greg Sargent from the Washington Post. How the Trump scam could deliver another big GOP victory.
Yeah, that's scary.
Now, I'm going to jump way down in the body of the work to the sub-headline, how the scam might work. First, as the timepiece notes, the GOP base might not actually punish Republican lawmakers for voting against the rescue package because Republican voters will benefit from it anyways. Did you get all that, Tom? I mean, even to have the opportunity to read the bill in, 50 Republicans voted against that. 50 Democrats, including Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, joined and voted 50-50. So just the action of moving this legislation forward to the reading of the legislation took a 50-50 vote and a tiebreaker from Kamala Harris today. Well, let me read more. I got a point. I'll get around to it eventually.
All right. We got time, man. We got like 10 hours.
Of reading alouding, let's hope not.
Right.
From the piece, indeed, I would add that this is over. GOP lawmakers might be seen by their voters as having railed merely against phantom excesses in the bill that were invented for the base consumption. As Media Matters documents, right-wing media have wildly hyped such invented excesses. And so even as the GOP voters pocket stimulus checks and get vaccines more quickly, the story in that information universe will become that GOP lawmakers rightly called out all the crazy socialist schemes brought to you by the Democrats who want to burn down your cities and cancel your children's books. Ryan Cooper calls this the Republican grievance perpetual motion machine. And as the Times reports, this might resonate with GOP voters more than the niggling matter of who supported sending that check. The insert here, I'll read aloud. It's possible that Republicans who are not prioritizing, that's a nice way of saying voting against economic issues, are accurately reading their base. A survey last month by GOP pollster Echelon Insights found that the top concerns of Republican voters were mainly cultural ones: illegal immigration, lack of support for the police, high taxes, and the liberal bias of the mainstream media. The question then becomes whether Republicans can win back the House or more largely on these fumes. And what's often missing from the discussions like these is the centrality of the GOP's increasing reliance on voter suppression and anti-majoritarian tactics to such an outcome.
And let's talk about that briefly, then we'll get to some phone callers. Be patient. 844-967-2789. Voter suppression is the key. Crudy, new voter suppression efforts are unfolding in numerous states. Republicans are openly boasting that retaking the House in 2022, halting Biden's agenda and positioning the GOP to win the White House in 2024, will be aided by extreme gerrymanders. This is critical to see how the Trump scam, understood in all its manifold depravity, might actually work. Rather than being a mere distraction from the agenda Republicans supposedly must develop to win back power, the lie about stolen election is itself central to doing that. In this scenario, the continued devotion to the stolen election mythos, in addition to keeping GOP voters in that state of perpetual grievance, also underpins the voter suppression and anti-majoritarian tactics that will make this more likely. The Trump scam is many-headed. It combines that grievance mongering with those escalated tactics justified by still more grievance about Trump. None of this is to excuse the role of Democrats in what happens. They probably do have to have a difficult conversation about whether certain tendencies in their own base are making it easier for Republicans to turn on that grievance machine or even alienating certain segments of the working class in their own right. Similarly, Democrats will have to deliver, which may run around against their skittish unwillingness to undertake filibuster reform. Indeed, if they do deliver, there's an optimistic alternative possibility, demonstrating that government can defeat the pandemic, rebuild infrastructure, juice the economy, and lift working people's fortunes could undermine the right-wing grievance appeals. But if the question is whether Republicans can win back power without developing a genuine working class agenda, well, it's hard to answer that question in the negative with a great deal of confidence.
Now, Dominic, guys like Ted Cruz are basically saying, Republicans, we're the working class party. Except we're against raising the minimum wage. Hell no. And of course, we're against giving any sort of money or financial relief to the long-term unemployed caused by the pandemic. But we say we're for the working class. And if we say that enough, some of you are going to believe us because, if the truth comes out, Republicans' gooses are cooked. So all they got is the messaging at this point. And the scam continues. 844-967-2789. Carol from Madison, welcome. What do you got for us?
Hi, Carol.
Hey, Carol. I don't know.
Hello.
Oh, hi. How are you, Carol?
I'm doing okay. How are you guys?
Excellent.
Good. Thanks for calling.
Yeah. I'm certainly hoping that Ron Johnson is planning on spending the next 10 hours sitting there listening to his bill being read, since he certainly doesn't seem to be able to find any staff or himself that can read.
Well, he likes to read articles into the record. First time to make sure, he's put the big lie out there, the whopper, and the second time to defend himself, apparently, from the criticism of the first time, Carol. So we know he can read, air quotes.
I love though how Amy Klobuchar skewered him after the second time that he was reading things into the record, because she asked the person from the Capitol Police if the mood was festive.
Well, that doesn't seem like a very jovial attitude you've got, Carol. You're going to make Ron very suspicious.
Very suspicious.
Do you have a favorite in the primary so far, or someone you'd like to see jump in, Carol, to defeat Ron Johnson?
I think Sarah Godlewski would be very interesting to put up against him.
Yeah, she's very dynamic. I like her a lot. Carol, thanks for listening. Thanks for calling. Sarah Godlewski, the Wisconsin State Treasurer, she got as many votes statewide approximately as Governor Tony Evers. More Devil's Advocates, more of your phone calls. Let's line them up. Dial them up, 844-967-2789. It's glorious here. It kind of feels like Christmas.
The Devil's Advocates.
Darren from Madison tells us he's a former Capitol Police officer.
You can't even compare the two of what happened, yesterday and with Act 10.
Darren, did you, as a Capitol Police officer, ever witness any violence in the Wisconsin State Capitol?
Nope, not at all. It's about as peaceful can be when it comes to peaceful protesting. It was an unlawful assembly, but at the end of the day, there was no violence at the end of the day. It was people coming in and singing.
Listen to Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
The people voted to give Democrats a mandate for bold action. From COVID relief to climate change and racial injustice, the problems we're facing are large, and we need bold solutions. We can't afford more obstruction from Senator Ron Johnson and the Republicans. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. MoveOn.org political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates, inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever.
The Devil's Advocates. They refuse to do math on the radio.
Dr. Michael Hicks, professor of economics, director of the Center for Business and Economic Research at Ball State University. This is troubling math all the way around. According to your mathematics, Michael, when do you think the great state of Wisconsin will get paid back on its investment?
Right. I mean, the answer is probably, the answer is never.
Wreaking havoc on America, just like they wreaked havoc on Wisconsin. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, in honor of our celebration of Ronanon, I think we got to play some sound of our U.S. Senator, Ron Johnson, the senior senator from the great state of Wisconsin, and, both a favorite of the Trumpsters and the QAnon. Let's play it for the people. Ron telling us, why it is that we can't have any sort of stimulus relief for the American people. Well, I think it's mostly because he's rich. He doesn't need it. Because when it came to tax cuts, he went in there and he fought and dug and won tax cuts specifically for guys like Ron Johnson. Very proud to tell us that on the radio, Dom. But here he is telling us why the American people can't have relief like Ron Johnson got through his tax bill. Here he is. Ron Anon played for the people, cut 80.
The vast majority of this has nothing to do with COVID relief, evidenced by the fact that nobody knows exactly how much, but probably close to $1 trillion of the previous $4 trillion we've already authorized is not yet spent.
But it is earmarked. It's earmarked already, Ron. I mean, it's earmarked for unemployment benefits, for PPP payments, for small businesses, for working class people, Ron.
It gets whittled down as the unemployment gets through, as the loans get approved. I mean, what? Come on. This is his excuse. There's more. Let's hear it. Ron Anon, cut 81.
It's actually hard to spend this much money, which is why we shouldn't be authorizing another 1.9.
Well, give me a chance. I do just fine, Ron. And when it comes to the defense budget, you know what? The Pentagon always finds a way. It might be hard, but they find a way to spend all that money, Dom. I suspect the American people have given, let's say, small individual checks of $1,400, perhaps cumulatively $2,000 per person, or maybe some, expanded unemployment benefits in small chunks, like $300-400 a week. I bet the American people cumulatively could rise to this challenge and spend that freaking money, Ron.
Oh, it's Brewster's Millions, if you ask Ron. A couple more from Ron Anon, the reading. Cut 82, please, Brian.
I feel bad for the clerks that are going to have to read it, but it's just important. So often we rush these massive bills that are hundreds, if not thousands of pages long. You don't have time. Nobody has time to read them. And so you start considering something that you haven't even read. So at a minimum, somebody ought to read it.
You're welcome, says Ron.
No one's got time to read it. They're going to read it tomorrow. Apparently it takes 10 hours, Ron. Apparently, couldn't you read it in 10 hours if you were so inclined, sir?
Well, he's got staffers for that.
Oh,
yeah, very busy, Ron, washing his hair.
Ron Anon, cut 83.
We should consider every amendment offered. Again, that's what Votorama is supposed to be. Unlimited number of amendments. We should consider every amendment offered.
Votorama. Is that kind of like Scoutorama? I remember when I was a young Boy Scout, we had Scoutorama tickets.
Yeah,
which was mostly a fundraiser for the Boy Scouts. Because, Scoutorama was held like at the mall. So, public access to the mall encouraged. Doesn't actually cost you money. But, we had to do the Scoutorama ticket selling. So I looked for the feature on the back of the ticket. You could go to like the Sizzler and get the salad bar for like $1 more. Or maybe it was thrown in for free. So your cost of the Scoutorama ticket was worth the value at the Sizzler buffet bar. And I sold the snot out of that Sizzler buffet bar. I sold like 200 Scoutorama tickets. Like the number of amendments that Ron Johnson intends to offer on this COVID stimulus bill. I'm sorry, Brian, you were saying?
I was hoping you had a couple extra coupons.
If you can find a Sizzler, I'll buy you the salad bar, fella.
A whole salad bar?
967-2789 won't fit in the car, man. Mark from the Sack, you are up. Welcome, Mark. Happy days. What do you got for us?
Hey, Mark.
Oh, hey, guys. Ron Johnson should read it himself. I mean, he should be required to read this thing himself on the floor of the Senate. Straight, no drinks of water, no pauses to go potty, anything like this. If he soils himself, he soils himself. I don't care. The man is just a cipher. I mean, he's just a cipher for now for Donald Trump. I mean, the man has no shame. I mean, that he's making that. This money needs to get out there to the people. I mean, and once this money gets spent by individual people, it boosts the economy. I mean, what part of that, that he understands that, and he's just cynically doing this, to delay and, like the article was, that the Republicans hope that this, that their voters won't see the benefit. It was Democrats that actually brought this to them, and that they'll continue to vote for the golden ass. I mean, that all the Republicans had to go there and kiss the golden ass, and probably the ass of Trump himself. That it just is beyond me that, and it's not beyond me. Let's face it, the Republicans are just cynically doing this. And that, yes, Ron Johnson should be required to read this himself. I mean, that he should get up there Jimmy Stewart style and read this himself. And all these amendments that he wants to push through, he should read them himself. No pauses, no drinks of water in between. That if he, starts choking on his own bile, well, that no CPR for him.
Mark,
well, better not eat the burgers, man. Crudy, he has some heartburn from that. Thanks for the call, Mark. And if he's a cipher, perhaps he's Lewis Cipher.
Maybe some Muse. Why no water though? I mean, I get the rest of it, the whole filibuster, stand and deliver style. I guess if Ron's going to soil himself, I mean, I saw in his prior campaign ad, his grandkid peed on him.
Yes, that is true.
Trump was quite impressed with that ad, I hear.
That's why he
But why no water?
One.
I mean, I'm not a cruel man. Let him have water. As he does 10 hours of reading alouding. I can't make it through a paragraph without, some Diet Dew or something, Dom.
A waste of time. A waste of time. And
Purposeful
the
waste
cynical
of time.
part of this, of course, is the Republicans that they cashed, the first stimulus rounds. They've cast those checks, and they'll still vote for Republicans because they're not fans of the socialist experiment, right? But if this thing passes, you know what every Republican is going to do? They're going to cash those checks, and they're going to cast those checks knowing that not any Republican wanted to give them that money. The Republicans will vote against it, knowing probably the Dems will be able to push it through. The Republicans will continue to ride on the socialism. The Republicans who cash the check will appreciate it, but will still continue to vote for Republicans.
Yeah, well, Joe Biden's going to get all the credit for the vaccines created in Donald Trump's basement lab. He thinks he's pretty good at science. He's got an uncle who's smart. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. Want to turn topically back to cancel culture. What? Don't cancel us. Come back. Hour 2 of this fine program is next.
Crazy. Don't go crazy, Yeah.
Reading is good.
And who's going to read 2,900 pages?
I don't know, but I'm suspicious.
Rocker, we gave the people live music. Isn't that what they wanted?
Of course not, Jimmy. Give the people live music, and they'll set up a brat stand with a beer caddy.
Will Rocker get his beer and brat? Catch Max Inc. Radio this Saturday evening to find out. We'll have the best of local music from Wisconsin and live music performed in the Devil's Lair. Go to maxincradio.com for the live music schedule. Max Inc. Radio starts at 6 on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
Did you bring a lawn chair, Jimmy?
Hey folks, Patrick here from Pegasus Games, here to remind you that we're open for all your at-home gaming needs, both online at pegasusgames.com or in-store from noon to 6, with extended hours on Saturday and Sunday morning from 10 a.m. to noon for high-risk customers. From our new line of puzzles to pass the time, to the perfect board game to reconnect with family and friends. Walk-ins welcome or curbside pickup available over the phone or online at pegasusgames.com. Pegasus Games, home to games you never outgrow.
You are listening to WTTN Columbus, W224EG Madison, always streaming at doubleradio927.com.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. Stocks are lower at the closing bell after Fed Chair Jamie Powell said inflation will pick up in the coming months, but that it would likely be temporary and not enough for the Fed to alter record low interest rates.
We've got rising vaccination. We've got cases at lower levels. We've got strong support from fiscal and monetary policy. And while there's still risks, there's good reason to expect job creation to pick up in coming months.
Investors foresee stronger growth and higher inflation on the horizon. A mask mandate in Alabama was supposed to run out today, but Governor Kay Ivey is extending it for another month.
There's no question that wearing masks has been one of our greatest tools in combating the spread of the virus. That, along with practicing good hygiene and social distancing, has helped us keep more people from getting sick or worse, dying.
Other Republican governors in Mississippi and Texas have ended or are about to end mask mandates. Press Secretary Jen Psaki says President Biden is worried about people in those states.
Our concern here is on the health, welfare, well-being, and survival, frankly, of people across the country.
Police in Dallas have arrested one of their own.
Today, the Dallas Police Department arrested Officer Brian Reiser, badge number 9586. And charged him with 2 counts of capital murder.
Chief Eddie Garcia says the charges are related to 2 unconnected 2017 killings that aren't related to Reiser's police work. A source tells the AP Capitol Police are asking that the National Guard remain at the Capitol for 2 more months. Michigan Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin says the Capitol needs a security plan.
We do have to understand what the plan is here because none of us like looking at the fencing, the gates, a uniformed presence around the Capitol.
The Senate has voted to begin debating a $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief bill. This is AP News.
Last night's sleep? Interrupted by pain? Tonight, silence it. With new ZQL Night Pain. Restful sleep, now with powerful pain relief. ZQL Night Pain combines America's #1 sleep aid with a maximum strength pain reliever. So you can fall asleep fast and wake feeling rested, because pain should never get in the way of a great night's sleep. New ZQL Night Pain. Silence pain. Sleep soundly. Available at retailers near you.
A walk and some ice cream with someone sounds like the perfect treat.
Making pizza with someone who's as into it as me? What could be better?
Ready to meet people who love to do the same things you do? It's easy. 1, open laptop. 2, go to OurTime.com. 3, start for free. OurTime is the #1 dating site made for singles over 50. It's easy to use and can help you find people who just want to do something fun. Find someone over 50 who loves to do what you do on OurTime. Go to OurTime.com today and start for free.
We're 1 year into the COVID pandemic, and it's clear that we can't afford more obstruction from Republicans like Senator Ron Johnson. He's twice voted against COVID relief bills that would have helped struggling Wisconsin families. We can and we must provide people the relief they need to take care of their families. Together, we can create a better future. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. MoveOn.org, political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
3 great stations have teamed up to bring you one tremendous impact. Chicago's Progressive Voice, WCPT 820 AM, Minnesota's Progressive Voice, AM 950, and Devil Radio 92.7 Madison. Representing the best independent progressive talk stations in cities in America. We partnered to offer one affordable advertising package that can cover the Great Lakes region. Now your company or cause can reach our highly engaged, combined monthly audiences of over 250,000 listeners, plus our combined worldwide streams and digital footprints at one low price. Local service, creative, and ad production available for an impact second to none. Call Devil Radio today at 608-819-8255.
Hey, Rocker, I heard you have a rye whiskey.
I do, Jimmy. Rocker Rye Whiskey. The mash is a high rye with a touch of malted barley that makes it yummy.
And Rocker Rye Whiskey is dedicated to the Madison music scene?
It sure is, Jimmy. You can read the story on the back of the bottle at any of these fine locations. Star Liquor, Woodman's, Trixie's Liquor, Vic Pierce, Miller & Sons in Verona, Steve's Liquor, Total Wine, and enjoy Rocker Rye Whiskey at the Lazy Oaf Lounge and Sal's Dark Horse. Find out more at rockervodka.com. Stream Progressive News and Talk 24/7, as well as download exclusive podcasts and interviews at devilradio927.com. That's devilradio927.com.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Thursday, March 4th. Within his most recent budget proposal, Governor Tony Evers floated a sales tax plan in which counties and municipalities with populations over 30,000 would be able to increase sales tax by 0.5% as long as the increase was approved by voters through a ballot referendum. That proposal is apparently dead on arrival, according to Assembly Speaker Robin Voss and other state GOP leaders. Officials with the World Dairy Expo, the largest convention and exposition in Dane County, are exploring venue options outside of the Madison area for this year's event due to local COVID-19 restrictions. Dane County remains the planned host for the expo, but event officials have been looking into alternative locations for the 2021 show this fall. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Kroot.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dom, I'd like to think of this hour today as the cancel culture hour. If you don't watch yourself, you're getting canceled.
Oh, really? Really?
The left has been known to do some canceling. Dom, they canceled Dr. Seuss. They emasculated Mr. Potato Head.
What?
And they blocked Trump on Twitter.
You know, when you
worst
say
crime
they, like who's they?
The left.
The left? The left canceled Dr. Seuss books?
The left is a canceling culture, Dom.
My understanding, the copyright owners or the owners of the Dr. Seuss books themselves decided not to publish any more of those books.
Well,
And
Dom,
in fact,
that's
my
so-
understanding also is that the Dr. Seuss books have been flying off the shelves ever since.
That is so-
is it self-cancellation then? I mean, what exactly are we talking about here?
That is irrelevant to the greater point being made by Matt Gaetz and Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz and others. The left, they're all down for the cancel culture.
I'm not clear what that means. So perhaps we should have a definition. I'm going to have you speak for them, Crudy, but what is your impression that the right, like people like Gaetz, what do they define cancel culture as? How are you interpreting their definition of that term?
Well, it's a little idiotic when they spread it around towards Dr. Seuss books, which of course have no reflection upon the left, although the accusations are flying on the social medias. This was a plot undertaken by the Biden administration. They're the ones that canceled Dr. Seuss.
Well, I mean, listen.
Try to disprove that
you
negative.
Can say anything. Right. And Donald Trump's going to be inaugurated today, as QAnon says. Right? I mean, you cannot have a logical discussion with cultist, asinine people. I mean, if you look at the sky and it's obviously blue, or perhaps it's gray, but you determine what the color is, and the person next to you says, no, it's red, or it's black, and it's certainly not that, where are you going to meet in the middle for that? There is none. There is no conversation to be had. I mean, those people just got to be ignored and walked away. The cancel culture? What? I mean, didn't we used to call that a boycott? I mean, so we have a new tagline for something that we've been doing forever. If someone says something that you don't like, you take exception to it, you push back, right? They used to be called a boycott or speaking your mind, and now they're going to call it cancel culture. And when guys like Scott Walker and Donald Trump get in on it, it's already done. It's like the flossing dance. It's already jumped the shark, like the term "jump the shark" has done.
That doesn't mean that it's not true, Dom.
Wow.
I mean, what did they do with Mr. Potato Head's penis?
I'm not clear Mr. Potato Head ever had a penis. Was that part of the push-on things, right? Didn't they know you put his ears on and his nose and all that? Wasn't that part of what Mr. Potato Head was? And I don't recall any genitalia one way or the other for Mr. Potato Head.
Maybe that was just an eye.
Yeah.
It was rather small.
The cancel culture conversation, right? When Republicans use it like this, this is nothing new. It's another tagline. When Republicans or anybody, when someone says something that you take issue with, or they engage in an action, or they support a political candidate, perhaps that you don't like. The U-Lines, for example, here in Wisconsin, they sell boxes. A big company. They're huge Republicans. Well, if I'm going to go online, I'm going to make a point because I don't want to support people like that. They're going to support guys like Trump. Going to support the insurrection. So I'll get my boxes somewhere else. I mean that's nothing new. This is nothing new. And the opportunity for the Republicans to jump on and, hey, we got one. It's cancel culture. It's those guys. What does that even mean to you Republicans? What, you no longer, as Congressman Gropin from Wisconsin said, there's certainly all those other going to be things that we can no longer say. Yeah, like the N-word, Glenn. You can't say that. That's bad.
I think the cancel culture is bad.
What
other than
bad?
These asinine examples, Mr. Potato Head and Dr. Seuss, I realize the hyperbolic, right? They always look for some asinine cultural war, but I absolutely think that there is a cancel culture that exists. And I think on a more serious note, it includes the elimination of Donald Trump from Twitter. That's canceling a guy.
I'm not clear. Okay, did cancel culture just come into existence with the term cancel culture?
Well, perhaps with the advent of social media, where you can have your account blocked, in a First Amendment abhorrent way.
Yeah, and you can't put, racist ads on the television, generally speaking. You can't, you're not guaranteed to get your letter to the editor posted. What are you talking about? I mean, Donald Trump, anybody on any of these platforms can start their own platform, get their own servers, and do their own thing. Nobody's canceled. And what's the option? To continue to promote lies and division and derision with Donald Trump? I mean, that's Twitter's call. That's Facebook's call for them to make that. And they set their own guidelines.
I don't believe in boycotts either. I think that is a form of cancellation. And I am literally opposed to boycotts. I don't believe in it. I heard you on this fine program yesterday sort of waffling on the topic, Don. We talked about Hupy and Abraham, the Republican lawyer, Hupy, and a Democratic law firm, at least according to the rest of the people that don't like them being besmirched based on the political contributions of the named partner, Michael Hupy.
One of the named partners.
One of the named partners, the first named partner, Michael Hupy of Hupy and Abraham. So the question becomes, Dom, when did you flip-flop? Was it somewhere in your sleep? Or
I'm not clear. What is your question?
You were opposed to the public, the efforts to quote unquote cancel Michael Hupy, to hold him accountable.
Specifically, my issue was, and I would support the law firm in this regard, is that the contributions made by the named partner were made on a personal level by the named partner, not by the law firm. The criticism was at the law firm, and they took exception to that. And I would think you can have the same comment, you can have the same issue brought to light without being inaccurate as to where the donations came from.
Well, we could split the incentive on that because, as I mentioned to you, he is the named partner. I could see the justification of Kirk Bangstead and the Minocqua Brewing Company and the super PAC that is trying to hold this man accountable. But ultimately, it's about boycotts, right? And canceling.
I don't know. That's the point. Is cancel culture, is that boycotting? Is that what we're talking about? Because then let's talk about then what's the additional part? Because I really don't like the term cancel culture. I don't like it when guys like the Republicans think they got something smart ass to say, and all of a sudden all we hear. I mean, the CPAC had America uncanceled. What a terrible message. What the hell does that even mean? America unboycotted? What are you talking about? Are you just so sad that you can't say racist things anymore? Is that the problem? Are you sad that you can't put women in their place like the good old days like you used to? Is that the problem? Is that the problem that there's more brown people going to be coming up in this country and, the white majority is going to slowly slip away? Is that the problem? Because if you say stupid things, there should be consequences. It's not cancel culture. It's consequential culture.
I think I should be able to say whatever the hell I want to say.
You can.
I feel
You
canceled
absolutely
sometimes
can.
right here on this radio broadcast with you. The FCC limits what I'm able to say. You know, I'd sprinkle in the profanities quite nicely. I'd have them in. I'd insert an F word between nearly each adverb and pronoun, Dob.
Oh, that'll be tonight at the Patreon.
Oh,
happy
yeah.
hour,
Please tune in
perhaps.
6 to 7 p.m.
But and you know the good thing about that, and again, you bought into the FCC when you bought the radio station. Those are the rules that are in place, and you can change those rules, perhaps become part of an association that can influence the FCC. But there's still other opportunities for you to express yourself that will not be limited by FCC guidelines. And the other part of that is, which I've grown to appreciate, although I'd like a little more flexibility in these FCC laws. If you can't say F-ity, F all the time, you're forced to come up with other words to describe it. So it's such a fluent word, a versatile word, that everything could be F-ity, F. So I get that, Crudy, but you are not limited. You're limited by the broadcast, certainly, but you can go on the Facebook, man. You can go on your YouTube page. You can go on Twitter. You can go on all sorts of other platforms and say whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that I haven't been canceled. And I don't mean for my profanity-laced tirades, although the FCC would cancel us quite rapidly and probably some of our syndication partners. But I've been canceled for the words I have spoken, the perhaps unpopular to certain political people in this state, words that I've spoken on this show. I've absolutely been canceled by the governor, or at least the governor's chief of staff. Used us right up until election day, and then we never existed again. What'd they do, Dom? I mean, literally, the governor's staff, so petty. They pulled us aside at the man's inauguration and said, you know, he's going to be butthurt for some period of time. And
It's going to be some time.
It's going to take some time to heal. It's been over 2 years. You're about to turn around and run for re-election. You haven't appeared on this fine program since then. I would say that was effectively a political cancellation by the governor of the state of Wisconsin. He's not obligated to come here, but if you came here and then you stop coming here, as is the case with the governor of the state of Wisconsin, then somebody canceled my ass. And it was either Tony or Maggie Gow.
Okay, so you don't get in an interview that perhaps that you want. Yeah. So what? I mean, there's all sorts of. I mean, how many times
I've been canceled?
It takes to reach out. You don't. If you don't get what you want, you're canceled.
Well, in my own definition, in part, but I would say the left is more than willing. If you say something unpopular, I would describe it as funny because, you know, sometimes I'd like to be funny. When I'm telling jokes on Tony, it's a guffaw. I'm just a backslapper. I'm just having a little fun with it, Tom. The fact that you would cancel me for trying to have a little humor on the radio, I mean, come on. That's not nice. That's not fair. That's cancel culture. We'll talk a little more about this on the other side. You can join us, 844-967-2789. Join us before this topic gets canceled.
They're scared to death that nobody else will fight the cancel culture as we head towards an era when some things can't be said.
It's not good. It hasn't been good. We've been against it.
The Devil's Advocates.
There are lots of people that haven't made up their mind on this race, and you think, how could that be? No, there are. There are a lot of people that could still make a decision all the way on election day, Dom.
Undecided voters are the biggest idiots on the planet. Try giving short, simple answers.
Like you'll go person, woman, man, camera, TV.
Yosemites.
Because freedom.
The people voted to give Democrats a mandate for bold action. From COVID relief to climate change and racial injustice, the problems we're facing are large, and we need bold solutions. We can't afford more obstruction from Senator Ron Johnson and the Republicans. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. MoveOn.org political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. Cody and I have been doing this show for almost 10 years, and we've never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now and advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. Get your message out and let the greatest radio audience know how to support your business. Call Luke at 608-819-TALK. That's 608-819-8255. Or go to DARNWI.com.
The Devil's Advocates.
I just wanted to thank Trudy for going up to the Capitol and decorating the tree. I think it was some of your finest jackassery.
Eddie, that's a real compliment because there's quite a history of jackassery with this man.
I'm in the legal books of the state of Wisconsin. My jackassery has been enshrined for posterity. I have set precedent with my jackassery.
I think you should take it to court, though, and you should tell the judge it's a matter of law and orderment.
Political commentary from the back of the class. The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines are open for your take. Toll-free talk or text 844-967-2789.
Dominic, we're big, but not really, really big. We fly under the radar, or the haters would be trying to cancel us like they try to cancel Rush Limbaugh. And here's the specific example I would use to make the case against cancel culture. You remember the Rush Limbaugh, the Sandra Flute. She's a slut. The taxpayers have to pay her to have sex. She's a slut. Once I make her a prostitute. Said some really important things.
Well, I think that's technically incorrect. I believe a slut would do it for free, and whores actually get paid.
Well, he did call her a prostitute, if that was your underlying concern. He went on to call her a prostitute, saying the taxpayers had to pay her because she's such, I think he also used the term slut, but effectively, Rush Limbaugh attacked a Georgetown University student, a private citizen whose crime was giving public testimony about reproductive health care and the use of the pill. And Rush Limbaugh clearly didn't understand any part thereof and tried to effectively defame this young lady, slandered this young lady in a very public setting. And the people's reaction was outrage. And they decided it's time to cancel Rush Limbaugh through pressure on his sponsors. And the cancel culture, the canceling of Rush Limbaugh led to a number of boycotts. And effectively, the outcome was the killing of left-wing talk radio as a nationally viable entity. How many talk radio stations have folded? Lefty talk radio stations folded in response to the pressure, the boycott, the canceling, or the attempted canceling of Rush Limbaugh. And I can answer that question. Basically, all of them, except for a handful of independent operators like Minneapolis, Chicago, and ours truly. So the attempt to cancel Rush effectively canceled the alternative to Rush. And Rush is still going. He got canceled by lung cancer, but not by, radio standards, not by boycott, not by the actions of Media Matters or anybody else. The efforts to cancel Rush effectively undermined what we do for a living. And I'm not happy about that. I think that we go too far. I think that I, as a guy who likes to think I'm somewhat clever, occasionally snarky, I think I should be able to say whatever the hell I want to say.
No one's saying you can't, Michael.
Yes, culture says I can. Absolutely.
Listen, the words that you choose to come out of your mouth are yours alone. The consequences of those words are also yours, and how people react to that. And they, just like you, have every right to react in the way they choose. Now, certainly the Rush Limbaugh issue took a hit with the progressive talk radio. Unintended consequences is what I would call that. Maybe the Republicans or the Democrats will come up with a new word for that. These things always happen. And there's pressure applied to advertisers all the time. Look at the Tucker Carlson, right? Some of his who's the other the blonde lady that follows him also had said some things, and people pressure their sponsors. I mean, that's a way to apply pressure when people say things that you find offensive. No one's saying she can't say them. But if people all of a sudden take issue, get a hold of sponsors, and sponsors decide, well, you know what, we're just not going to engage like that. How is that not a consequence of their action? Where is the responsibility of the person saying the words?
Well, far more often what happened is the sponsors would back away from their support of both left-wing and right-wing radio. Then we're just going to pull
Sure,
back
okay,
completely.
Okay, yes, and
to
and
the
that
expense
is
of
a very
left-wing talk
specific
radio.
example.
Well, it's
How
a
many-
broad example. It's
well, how
a
about the South
national media
African,
example.
the South African investment thing back in the day with the UW
Apartheid.
Yeah, right. And as mentioned, some of these other sponsors. I mean, this isn't new. It got a new tagline, but this is always the same. It's an extension of the culture wars, which is, the Republicans continue to push this. This is a way to divide it. I call it accountability for your actions. You're going to stand up and say the N-word, this. You're going to have some consequences to that action. You can say it, you can do it, but there will be consequences to it. People will shun you, perhaps. Come on, man. Where's the personal aren't the Republicans the party of personal responsibility? Now they're all concerned about cancel culture.
Dominic, I know there are things that you have said, not on the airwaves, perhaps not in front of a live mic, not unless Fancy Brian slipped and pushed the button, that would get your ass canceled immediately. I know it because I've had the same conversations. And maybe we're not bantering about derogatory racial terms back and forth, but we've certainly said things that get our asses canceled as a radio product. Hell, as the owner of the station, I'd have to cancel us. There are lines to be crossed. But as far as I'm concerned, you and I, in the secrecy of a late night drinking session in the corner of the bar, or, after that late night bar session, we go back to a hotel room in some strange port of call after we've covered some events, and we've said some outrageous things late at night, usually drunk. Probably stoned. But here, the greater point is...
What is the point? Sounds fun so far.
Those things that we find appropriate for our own sense of humor, you and I, together, collectively, we laugh our asses off, but we'd never be able to say those things publicly, or there would be consequence and repercussions like cancellation. And I would say there are some things that shouldn't be subject to cancel culture. Like lefty talk radio and jokes, man. Funny is funny. And I guess here's a point I'll make, if there is a point to make. I think anything that makes me laugh or you laugh or us laugh is a suitable topic for our internal sense of humor. But I'm not sure that so many in the audience would think everything that we find hilarious to be so funny. I think some would be offended.
And that very well may be true. But if I'm laughing at it, I got a reason for it. And I'm okay with that. I understand consequences of my action. And if I laughed at something or find something humorous that somebody else doesn't, and they approach me on it, well, maybe they'll convince me. Maybe they won't. But I accept the reality. I accept the consequences of my action. I don't just go around and blaming someone. Well, that's cancel culture.
But if you'd gotten fired for some of the things you said post-death of Rush Limbaugh, others did. Let's talk more on the other side. More Devils.
You cannot say filth, filth in front of people.
It could be. It might be. It is Devil Radio 92.7.
Hi, this is Brad from Zero Res. Do you know Zero Res also cleans air ducts? They've got honest, straightforward pricing and the same great service. Give us a call and in January, get a free permanent filter with every air duct cleaning. Call us at 608-848-9000 or zeroresmadison.com.
Devil Radio is hiring. We are seeking candidates to fill an immediate vacancy as our part-time weeknight producer. Ideal candidates bring live radio production experience and a willingness to learn new skills. But Devil Radio will train the right candidate looking to begin their broadcast career and grow with our company. This position pays $15 an hour. Production requires on-site work in our West Madison studios. Apply today at devilradio927.com or call Luke Mathers at 608-819-8255.
Stream Progressive News and Talk 24/7, as well as download exclusive podcasts and interviews at devilradio927.com. That's devilradio927.com.
Coronavirus update. I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. Stocks finished with big losses. The Dow down 345 points. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says it's time to get to work on a $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief bill.
This legislation will keep America's families, businesses, workers afloat and hasten the day when our country can return to normal and our economy can come roaring back.
Democrats are making some 11th hour changes. South Carolina Republican Lindsey Graham says this bill is too big.
This is a liberal wish list. This is very much seizing the moment, taking a crisis, a problem in America, and using it to advance causes completely unrelated to COVID.
The governor of Alabama, Kay Ivey, is extending her state's mask mandate.
Folks, we're not there yet, but goodness knows we're getting closer.
Ivey says the mandate ends in 1 month in Alabama. I'm Ed.
Last night's sleep? Interrupted by pain? Tonight, silence it. With new ZQL Night Pain. Restful sleep, now with powerful pain relief. ZQL Night Pain combines America's #1 sleep aid with a maximum strength pain reliever. So you can fall asleep fast and wake feeling rested, because pain should never get in the way of a great night's sleep. New ZQL Night Pain. Silence pain. Sleep soundly. Available at retailers near you.
A walk and some ice cream with someone sounds like the perfect treat.
Making pizza with someone who's as into it as me? What could be better?
Ready to meet people who love to do the same things you do? It's easy. 1, open laptop. 2, go to OurTime.com. 3, start for free. OurTime is the #1 dating site made for singles over 50. It's easy to use and can help you find people who just want to do something fun. Find someone over 50 who loves to do what you do on OurTime. Go to OurTime.com today and start for free.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Thursday, March 4th. Senator Ron Johnson is pledging to slow down the next coronavirus stimulus package and the $1,400 checks for Americans the relief package includes. Johnson promised Wednesday afternoon to force a full reading of the bill, which would likely take up to 10 hours. The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources is recruiting volunteers for a committee to develop a new wolf management plan after hunters killed nearly twice the quota in a court-ordered hunting season. The Wolf Management Plan Committee will provide recommendations for a new scientifically and socially supported management plan of wolves in the state. Sunny skies in the forecast today with slight winds up to 10 miles an hour throughout the day, high today of 37 degrees. Clear skies expected tonight with a slight chance for precipitation, low of 18 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates, because freedom.
Freedom!
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Dominic, I got to tell you, man, some of the things that you say on Twitter and some of the things you said immediately following the death of Rush Limbaugh. Let me see if I can paraphrase you. I'm glad he's dead. Something of that effect.
Yeah,
now, you paid no consequence. You paid no consequence, but others in our industry did, including a guy at WAPL in Wisconsin. Guy got effectively suspended, perhaps fired for his job for tweeting or social mediaing a lot less than you said on these very airwaves. So the fact that you haven't yet been canceled gives you the non-canceled privilege to say, "Oh, cancel culture, it's too much."
But
it's
listen,
no big deal.
Certainly the audience will determine whether or not what I said was above or below some sort of line. And yes, I'm glad he's dead. I had a nice song to go along with the theme. Could think of some of the things that he has said, as you noted earlier with the whole conversation about the slut and the birth control stuff. So no, and I stand by that.
Some people, some corporate entities would frown upon you, defecating upon the recently departed.
And no doubt. And perhaps, and if you're employed somewhere where there's those kinds of rules, then you got to live with the result of your actions, Crudy. That's, I'm glad you did. Who's been canceled, right? What are some examples? Mr. Potato Head, this whole thing with that and the Dr. Seuss, well, these are corporate decisions. Certainly you can't imagine that the Republicans think that they have a right to tell these private individuals, these private corporations, how they should and what they should market. I mean, they're their party of small government, right?
Dominic, I quote the Foxy News. They'd cancel us in a heartbeat if they could. ABC late night host Jimmy Kimmel sounded the alarm on cancel culture Tuesday and how it could help former President Donald Trump get elected again in 2024. Dr. Seuss Enterprises announced earlier Tuesday that the publication of sixth book by the famed children's author would be discontinued due to racist and offensive imagery. After cracking some jokes during his monologue about Dr. Seuss books with alternative woke titles, Kimmel warned that recent incidents of cancel culture could pave the way for Trump's return to the White House. This is how Trump gets reelected, by the way, Kimmel told his audience. Cancel Dr. Seuss, cancel Abe Lincoln, melt down Mr. Potato Head's private parts, and throw them at the Muppets. This is his path to victory the next time around. Now, I read a little bit more from this article. Kimmel has himself faced the threat of cancel culture last summer when Fox News revealed that he had used the N-word while impersonating Snoop Dogg not long after an old clip featuring the comedian wearing blackface resurfaced. Last week, HBO's Real-Time host Bill Maher and I watched this monologue, similarly warned liberals that cancel culture real and coming to a neighborhood near you. Liberals need a stand your ground law for cancel culture, Bill Maher said, so that when the woke mob comes after you for some ridiculous offense, you'll stand your ground, stop apologizing, because I can't keep up with who's on the S list. It happens. It happens a lot in the broader culture. We just don't have 8 million Twitter followers to suddenly blow up and hate on us, you know, when you say something truly offensive.
In Chicago, the nation's highest paid sports anchor, local sports anchor, Mark Giangreco, is on his way out. He works for ABC.
What'd he do?
He said, and this is at the end of his latest sports segment, Giangreco showed a video of a hockey player on rollerblades sanding drywall with the butt end of a hockey stick and shooting a puck into a garbage can with the blade end. He said, got to get him a show on DIY Network. We'll call it House Fix with Sticks, and Cheryl, his co-anchor, can play the ditzy combative interior decorator. I got it all worked out. Called her ditzy in reference to a fake segment that was never going to happen. And he's been warned several times, and like he's kind of, you know, he's an old school
edgy
guy. He's an old school
misogynistic.
Yeah,
the good old days.
I mean, he's an old, you know, kind of guy, but he also got in trouble for calling Trump an idiot as well. So, you know,
well, that's sort of part of the job resume around here, so that won't get you in trouble, Dom. But
just briefly here, found this one
sir.
at the NBCnews.com, just a paragraph. Just witnessed the contrived hysteria about the fabricated cancellation of Dr. Seuss, the beloved children's book's author. Dr. Seuss Enterprises, a very profitable company which controls the estate of late Theodore Seuss Giselle, the man behind the pen name, has decided of its own free will to stop publishing a half dozen of his books because the company's told the AP they portray people in ways that are hurtful and wrong, deploying stereotypes about Black and Asian people in a manner that Seuss's own estate thinks is offensive and inappropriate. And what, Republicans have a problem with this? You're gonna tell Dr. Seuss Enterprises they must continue to print their own property that they no longer feel is appropriate today? We want to get back to the good old days where we can have negative stereotypes of Black and Asian people on our cartoon books. Is that what we're going for, people? Because I have no problem with that. That's their business decision. And apparently, Dr. Seuss books are flying off the shelves at Amazon. It's going pretty well for them.
Well, that seems contrary to their intent, in fact, Dom.
Well, the intent, presumably, to my reading, was this to take offensive stereotypes off of the pages.
Now, let me ask you another random example. What about canceling, let's say, the MyPillow guy, Mike Lindell? Do you think that's appropriate? Should we cancel him?
Again, I would never buy a pillow from that guy. So is that canceling him? I don't.
Obviously, many people have bought pillows
I
from the
don't
guy.
like the premise at all. I think this is contrived. It's a tagline. It's a new word for the same thing we've always done. If you got a guy hawking wares and he's a hack, I'm not going to buy from him. I'm going to buy from somebody else. If I articulate that, am I canceling him? Am I boycotting him? Am I using my own dollars to, provide a message platform for somebody else? Come on, man. This is the same as it's always been. It's just another way for the Republicans to come up with a cute little tagline now and adopt this terminology in order to further their own political goals. And what is that? Well, of course, their attitude is a dying attitude. They are a dying party. They've been taken over by QAnon and Trump. I mean, this is the party of Lincoln, right? This is how they have fallen. Did Mitt Romney cancel President Trump when he voted to impeach Crudy? Or did he just vote to impeach because he's a traitorous bastard? Does it really matter what you call it? It's a result. It's a consequence of actions. And really what this is about is Republicans know they're losing power, man. They are a dying breed. It's the death throes. Of course, they've been dying of the same heart attack for 30 years, like Hyman Roth, but they're still on the way out.
I was thinking Red Sanford from Sanford and Son. It's the big one. I'm coming for you.
The
844. Let me get the phone
All
number
right,
out
go
for a
ahead.
change. You sure? Can I say it? 844-967-2789. Now you, Dom.
Donald Trump had his Twitter account frozen,
Canceled.
right? Deleted.
Canceled.
Whatever. See, I just can't even stand it when the whole terminology here. All right. And in response, many of the Trump followers, and much like Facebook, went to go find other platforms, right?
And then the entire platform was canceled.
Well, the Gab was hacked, and Parler apparently was couldn't find some servers, right? So the Republicans who claim to have an issue with quote unquote cancel culture, by their own actions, engage in cancel culture. So if everybody's doing cancel culture, is nobody doing cancel culture? I mean, what are we talking about here? It is a consequence of action, all repackaged up in a nice little terminology to continue on with this BS conversation about what is appropriate and what is not. I mean, the conversation is always appropriate, but to long for the old days where you could say anything you want and what, everyone else had to keep their mouth shut, right? You're not from around these parts, are you, boy? Right? Is that what we're going for? Hell no, absolutely not. And if that's how you're going to be, you deserve to have someone up in your face about it.
Peter Pan, the worst consequence I've ever seen you face was like a shushing at the bar. You lived the life of Riley. I don't know if it's the bad boy good looks or why it is that you seemingly get a pass in life that the rest of us do not get.
Come on.
But you say outrageous things on occasion, sometimes on the radio, and to date, you've never been canceled. You've hardly had ramifications.
Perhaps it's not really outrageous. Perhaps it resonates, man. I mean, I don't know. And certainly, I'm open as well. I mean, I'm certainly not perfect, right? We do this thing, and we
damn near though, damn near.
It's pretty close. And perhaps some things can slip out and go the wrong way. And I, if that were to happen, absolutely. I mean, I don't want to. I'm not trying to demean a culture or a people or a race or any of these kinds of things. I'm just trying to be a human being on this earth, getting through the day like everybody else. And when I see a political party, specifically Republicans now, adopt this phrase and start to try to use it to their political advantage, I just don't buy it. Just like this whole stop the steal thing. No, there's nothing stolen. What are you talking about? Oh, election fraud, election integrity. There is integrity. I found maybe it was a Bloomberg piece the other day reiterating this is the most safe election that we've ever had. There's lots of scrutiny on this before the 6 court cases. A lot of the election folks that do this thing and monitor elections came out and said it. This was the most secure election that we've ever had. So just because you come up with a term doesn't absolve you from the consequences of your actions.
Next, you're going to want to cancel Ronanon. 844-967-2789. Chris, listening in Tampa, Florida. Chris, welcome. I'm glad someone joined the debate.
Hey, Chris.
What do you got for us?
Hey, really with me, I think with cancel culture, you're talking more about sort of the online aspect than I think what you're talking about is sort of the real world where we have like small groups or whatever that just go after things that you don't like. And I think it's more of a cultural thing where we just haven't caught up with the idea of learning how to use the internet properly when it comes to this, like with digging up things from ancient times, trying to use it against people, things like that. I think that is where we should be looking at is what's wrong with the idea of cancel culture when we're talking about it. I think we need to define it properly, maybe is the right word for it. We shouldn't apply it to obviously the Dr. Seuss books or anything like that. I think that's just dumb. But maybe applying it to the idea that maybe these online attacks that basically happen that everyone sort of jumps on the bandwagon for can cause quite a bit of toxicity within the left leaning areas and stuff like that.
Chris, you've got Ron DeSantis and Marco Rubio and Rick Scott down there, but we got we got Ron Johnson here, sir. I don't know that there are some things in Ron Johnson's past. He did basically testify on behalf of the Catholic Church that they should be able to shield their assets, their financial assets, for the claims of those that were molested by clergy people. That doesn't seem like his greatest, most bright, shining moment. But Ron Johnson, our dumb senator, the guy that's blocking and enforcing the reading aloud of the entire 700-page bill, the 10-hour delay, and perhaps more than that. Should a guy like him be canceled, Chris? Does Ron Johnson deserve cancellation?
Well, I think he deserves to be voted out like everybody, like anybody else that needs to be voted out, like some of my Florida people. But I think when we're talking again, I want to more talk about it in the sense of like the online aspect, because there are a lot of people that when they say something online or through the radio, there's these attacks online.
Chris, we got like 30 seconds left. Chris, I want to get this in. Can you name an example of one that you think is emblematic of cancel culture as you see it?
Ooh, that'd be interesting. I think it's probably more small scale, but we're talking about some of the more like online personalities that might, that like when we're talking about like streamers and stuff that are kind of sort of becoming more popular these days. Some of them have been, I wish I could name one, but
okay,
I can give you one. Alex Jones. Try to cancel him and he will eat your ass. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates, more of your phone calls, but only if you dial us up at 844-967-2789.
Don't talk to me that way.
You use many bad words.
You can't handle the truth. Are you talking to me?
I don't know, but I'm suspicious.
I will. Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
Thanks for the job you do and sure show it in the Supreme Court.
But I just want to thank you guys for your program.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You don't get enough credit for this. We've never had a voice ever in this state. So I think you guys really need to take a bow.
Thanks again for your work. It's really important. You need these guys. They're there for all of us.
You're welcome, everybody, and thank you.
We're 1 year into the COVID pandemic, and it's clear that we can't afford more obstruction from Republicans like Senator Ron Johnson. He's twice voted against COVID relief bills that would have helped struggling Wisconsin families. We can and we must provide people the relief they need to take care of their families. Together, we can create a better future. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. MoveOn.org, political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
Hi, this is Dom from the Devil's Advocates inviting you to join us on Patreon.com. Patreon allows for our audience to access exclusive programming not available anywhere else and gives you the ability to directly support the greatest radio show ever. History's patrons have supported the works of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Monet, and now with your support, the Devil's Advocates. So please go to Patreon.com and search the Devil's Advocates to pick your subscription. That's Patreon.com and the Devil's Advocates, the greatest radio show ever. Senator Ron Johnson talking about staying out of bars. How does that pair with your thought that schools should reopen in the fall? You got a room full of school students or a room full of bar patrons. What's the difference?
Because schools, students, it's rare, very rare to have them have a very serious medical effect from COVID.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
You shouldn't have older school teachers or school teachers with some of the comorbidities.
You're listening to the radio show your mother warned you about. Tom and Kreutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show where you are never canceled. Join us on the lines 844-967-2789.
Lisa Joe tweeting at us at Devil Radio. We should apply the reasonable man standard. Well, that'd be great, Lisa Joe, if I knew any reasonable people. Right. What would offend a reasonable person, not hypersensitive nor sociopathic disregard person? I guess that means Trump. I'm going to take one more crack at this whole cancel culture. Did you see John Brennan, the former CIA director, earlier this week, apologizing because he was a white man? And because of the actions of other white men, he's now embarrassed to be a white man. And I'm thinking you're A, kind of stuck, and B, you've probably benefited from some of the privilege of being a white man through your life. And, now that
maybe that's some of the things that he recognizes. And I don't know the quote, but if he recognizes the white privilege, is that a bad thing?
Dominic, out of fear of sounding like a 3%er or something here, I am not going to feel bad because I was born a white man. I can't control that outcome.
Certainly.
I can certainly acknowledge the history, but I can't control it, nor can I diminish perhaps the benefit or the privilege I've garnered from being a white man. But I certainly am not going to apologize for it. I mean, really, what is it in our society that makes us feel bad about being who we are? I mean, if we're not despicable human beings. No, I'm not a huge John Brennan fan. I'm a huge
John Brennan,
Trudy fan, but
that lied to Congress about spying on senators and their staff. That John Brennan. I mean, if he
didn't seem regretful about that.
Well, that's my greater issue with John Brennan, not how he feels about his whiteness.
844-967-2789. Let's go back to the phones. Jeannie from Eau Claire. How you been, Jeannie?
Hey, Jeannie.
Hi, guys. Well, Mr. Embarrassment of the state of Wisconsin, the clown.
Don't say those things about Dominic right to his face.
He's talking about running on.
I'm calling Johnson from Wisconsin, Putin's buddy. Well, anyway, he has somebody reading that whole thing right now. I called up and I said, if you're going to make that person read, you better get your butt sitting in that chamber and taking notes and listening to what she's reading if you can't read it by yourself.
Well, that'd be more than he did during the impeachment, Jeannie.
I know, and he doesn't pay attention anyway. So why is he making some poor people stand up there and read that out loud?
He's doing it as a service to his country, Gene. This is for your benefit, so you understand what's in this bill. It's really not a COVID bill, and hell, we haven't even spent all the money from the last couple rounds.
And perhaps it'll be persuasive, Jeannie, in that only 77% of the American people support this COVID relief bill, including 60% of Republicans.
Yeah, you know what they're going to remember is Ron Johnson probably don't even know how to read. He doesn't know how to look anything up, and he's not too swift. So he better be taking notes so he understands what's in that bill, and we ought to give him a quiz. I mean, what a jerk. I mean, this guy, we got to vote him out. We got to vote him out. We got to get him the heck out of there. He does not deserve to be sitting in that chair. He does not deserve to be voting on our behalf. That guy drives me bananas. So I just had to call and give you my 2 cents worth, guys.
Jeannie, would it be accurate to quote you as cancel Ron Johnson?
Oh, kick his butt right out of there. Say goodbye, Ron. You know,
Goodbye, Ron. Thank you, Gene. We appreciate it. Isn't that though what elections
Bye,
are for?
Felicia.
Yeah, by voting for Joe Biden, did I cancel Donald Trump? I mean, is that
In
what we're
part, we
talking about
did.
now? If the person I didn't vote for, am I canceling them? I mean, it's just.
Were we not seeking to cancel Donald Trump? You and I were both seeking.
I mean, if
you
that's
might
what
not
you
like the
call it,
word, but yeah, every
I
day.
was looking to get him out of office. I mean, yeah, that's what elections do. That's what they're for.
Buddy, I staked my life savings on trying to defeat Donald Trump electorally in the state of Wisconsin and turn the tide back to blue. And I would say mission accomplished. But don't act like I wasn't trying to cancel his ass.
I mean, I'm not clear what you mean by that. I know you wanted him out of office. And if that's canceling,
I wanted him off of Twitter. Mission accomplished there as well.
All right. 844-967-2789. Let's squeeze a few more in. Jeff from Madison, you are next. Thank you. What do you got for us?
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, gentlemen. Just want to say that, when Russ Feingold was our awesome senator from Wisconsin, he actually read the entire Patriot Act and was smart enough to realize that there was not so good stuff in there. I don't understand why Russian Ron can't actually, get off his butt and read for the people of Wisconsin.
Well, when you call him Russian Ron, Jeff, I think you've answered your own question.
Oh, good point. Good point. Sorry.
Thanks for listening, sir.
Man, we appreciate the call, Jeff.
844-967-2789. At least one more caller listening on AM 950 in Minneapolis. Terry, welcome. What do you got for us?
Hey, Terry.
Well, guys, I'm in my car here, and I had to pull over because I've been listening to all these. I've been following Ron Johnson, and I have to say one thing. I'm glad I live in Minnesota.
Klobuchar seems like a much
is-
more solid choice than Rojo.
Well, she does. And the thing with Ron Johnson and why people are saying, did anybody ever realize that most of the Republicans can't read shit anyway? Oh, pardon me. I didn't mean to say.
Well,
That's
we
all
got
right, Terry. Move along. We appreciate the call. Terry from Minneapolis. Squeeze one more in. Penny from Minneapolis. You are next. Thank you, Penny. What do you got for us?
Hey, Penny.
Yes, I want to talk about the cancel culture.
Yes,
Yes.
I agree with you that a company can make a decision, but I think about the Dr. Seuss books and Gone with the Wind. We all have a brain. We can understand when it was written. There was no bad intention by Dr. Seuss writer. I think we ought to they should have left those books alone. Now, when it comes to the monuments for the Southern leaders against our government, those should be put in museums. I wouldn't honor people that fought against democracy in our union.
Why not
But
the
just like
junkyard
San
then, Penny? Why a museum?
Well, because to them, they're whatever. But also, San Francisco is going too far. You don't cancel Abraham Lincoln, Jefferson, Washington that had slaves. Consider the time. Consider the time. Talk about the time. You could say you wouldn't have slaves today. Of course we wouldn't. But to say you're going to cancel Abraham Lincoln, San Francisco, come on.
Penny, you make excellent points.
Thanks for the call, Penny. I'm pretty sure people knew even a few hundred years ago, Penny, that it was bad to own other people, and they did it anyway.
Those of you listening on AM 950, stick around. Matt McNeil is next. For the rest of you, the 4 o'clock happy hour, it commences. Right now, your call is always welcome. 844-967-2789.
I will eat your ass. Having this all come out into public has exposed things that didn't need to be exposed.
I will eat your ass first.
Rocker, we gave the people live music. Isn't that what they wanted?
Of course not, Jimmy. Give the people live music, and they'll set up a brat stand with a beer caddy.
Will Rocker get his beer and brat? Catch Max Inc. Radio this Saturday evening to find out. We'll have the best of local music from Wisconsin and live music performed in the Devil's Lair. Go to maxincradio.com for the live music schedule. Max Inc. Radio starts at 6 on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
Did you bring a lawn chair, Jimmy?
Understanding the needs and goals of your improvement project is something my family has done for 3 generations. And that doesn't stop when times get tough. Al Bachman here. At Bachman Construction, we've seen it all. Everything from a simple back patio to moving historic homes a quarter of a mile down the road. Give Bachman Construction a call and let us know how we can create a better value for your space today.
You are listening to WTTN Columbus, W224EG Madison, always streaming at doubleradio927.com.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. The Senate has started considering a $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief bill. The AP's Sandra Magani reports Democrats made some last-minute changes.
The Senate split 50-50 over whether to even start debating the bill.
The vice president votes in the affirmative,
with Vice President Harris breaking the tie in her role as Senate president, underscoring that Democrats have virtually no margin for error in trying to achieve President Biden's top legislative priority. Republicans argued the bill's too big, with too much money for non-virus related provisions.
The table of contents for this act is as follows.
And before letting the debate start, they demanded Senate clerks read the entire bill aloud.
Section 9819.
It's more than 600 pages long. Sagar Magani, Washington.
New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says New York City is teetering in response to the coronavirus. Mayor Bill de Blasio says the governor is trying to distract attention away from his problems.
He's got 3 women who have brought forward allegations of inappropriate activity and sexual harassment. He has a nursing home scandal and a cover-up related to that scandal.
Alabama has extended the state's mask mandate for another month. Press Secretary Jen Psaki at the White House says President Biden's initial push was to wear a mask for 100 days.
Are we at day 40? Around there, 60 more days. That's what he's asking, and he's certainly hopeful that businesses and people across the country will continue to do that.
The Supreme Court made it harder for longtime immigrants who have been convicted of a crime to avoid deportation. The justices ruled against a Mexican citizen who entered the U.S. illegally and has lived in the country for 25 years. The Pentagon is reviewing a request by Capitol Police to keep National Guard troops patrolling the Capitol for another 60 days. The Dow finished down 345 points. This is AP News.
Last night's sleep? Interrupted by pain? Tonight, silence it with new ZQL Night Pain. Restful sleep, now with powerful pain relief. ZQL Night Pain combines America's #1 sleep aid with a maximum strength pain reliever. So you can fall asleep fast and wake feeling rested, because pain should never get in the way of a great night's sleep. New ZQL Night Pain. Silence pain. Sleep soundly. Available at retailers near you.
A walk and some ice cream with someone sounds like the perfect treat.
Making pizza with someone who's as into it as me? What could be better?
Ready to meet people who love to do the same things you do? It's easy. 1, open laptop. 2, go to OurTime.com. 3, start for free. OurTime is the #1 dating site made for singles over 50. It's easy to use and can help you find people who just want to do something fun. Find someone over 50 who loves to do what you do on OurTime. Go to OurTime.com today and start for free.
Hey folks, Patrick here from Pegasus Games, here to remind you that we're open for all your at-home gaming needs, both online at pegasusgames.com or in-store from noon to 6, with extended hours on Saturday and Sunday morning from 10 a.m. to noon for high-risk customers. From our new line of puzzles to pass the time, to the perfect board game to reconnect with family and friends. Walk-ins welcome or curbside pickup available over the phone or online at pegasusgames.com. Pegasus Games, home to games you never outgrow.
Hey, Dom, how many palindromes can you name in 30 seconds?
Race car, mom, dad, reefer, kayak, level. Did I say mom already?
You're forgetting one really important one.
Zero res.
Not only is it the coolest palindrome ever, it's also our favorite.
Right, I remember. Why is that again?
They advertise with us.
Zero res, my favorite palindrome.
And carpet cleaner.
Get the best carpet cleaning ever. Schedule your carpet cleaning online at ZeroResMedicine.com. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Devil Radio is hiring. We are seeking candidates to fill an immediate vacancy as our part-time weeknight producer. Ideal candidates bring live radio production experience and a willingness to learn new skills. But Devil Radio will train the right candidate looking to begin their broadcast career and grow with our company. This position pays $15 an hour. Production requires on-site work at our West Madison studios. Apply today at devilradio927.com or call Luke Mathers at 608-819-8255.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. Cody and I have been doing this show for almost 10 years, and we've never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now and advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. Get your message out and let the greatest radio audience know how to support your business. Call Luke at 608-819-TALK. That's 608-819-8255. Or go to darnwi.com.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Thursday, March 4th. Wisconsin's online vaccine registry launched Wednesday, where people can sign up to receive the COVID-19 vaccine if they are eligible and there are available appointments near where they live. The only vaccinator currently participating is the community clinic in Janesville. Local health departments with the city of Wauwatosa and Greene, Marathon, and Oneida counties are slated to begin using the registry soon. More are expected to be added throughout the month of March. On Wednesday, Madison's 3 main general hospitals announced they are easing limitations on visitors due to a promising decline in COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations locally. Starting next Monday, 1 visitor will generally be allowed for adult patients and 2 primary support people will be allowed for each pediatric patient. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into the 4 o'clock happy hour, and I'm happy that the QAnon Christmas wishes have not come true, Dom.
Not yet. The night is young.
The inauguration, and I know this sounds very crazy and conspiratorial, but the QAnon believed that somehow Donald Trump would be raptured back to the presidency today. And want to bring this topic a little more local. Let's not forget about the seditious 15 Republicans in the state of Wisconsin that wrote a letter to Mike Pence the day before the Capitol insurrection on January 5th saying, overturn the election, Mr. Vice President. And above and beyond that, we had 10 people that fraudulently represented themselves to be electors in the state of Wisconsin, a Republican slate. And they signed off and had their names sealed and sent off to D.C. They claimed that Donald Trump had won the state of Wisconsin. And apparently, Dom, a couple of those Trump electors are also Wisconsin elections commissioners, which brings us to this headline. Governor Tony Evers asked second Republican commissioner to step aside an election case. Patrick Marley reporting. Democratic Governor Tony Evers is seeking the removal of a second Republican election official from a case that will decide whether Evers properly handled the state's presidential results. The filing by Evers adds a twist. Is that what you call it? A twist? It's a plot twist, Dom.
Yeah.
In a politically fraught case that has already led to one Republican member of the State Elections Commission stepping aside. The case before the commission is not about whether Joe Biden defeated Donald Trump. Are we clear? Did he beat him?
I think he did.
Biden's victory has already been confirmed by the state and federal courts, but the case will determine whether Evers and the elections officials were right to make that finding when they did, and will guide how presidential results are finalized in the future. In the latest development, an attorney for Evers asked the commissioner, Bob Spindell, be taken off the case. Spindell joined a group of Republicans in December who claimed to be the state's rightful members of the Electoral College, even though Biden had won the state. Evers' attorney, a recent guest here, Dom, Jeffrey Mandel, argued in his filing that Spindell's participation in that meeting showed that he'd already reached the conclusion that Evers had not properly named the state's electors. Here's a quote from Mandel. If he believed that Wisconsin's presidential electors had been validly ascertained, he would not have participated in that meeting because there would have been no reason to do so, Dominic.
Right. In addition to serving as Evers' attorney, Mandel leads Law Forward, a nonprofit law firm focused on voting issues, as Curdy mentioned, a recent guest. Law Forward recently filed complaints with the elections commissions and the Milwaukee County District Attorney's Office against Spindell and the other Republicans for holding their meeting, alleging they had engaged in fraud. The commission's plan to review that complaint also means Spindell should step aside from the case involving Evers, Mandel argued. Spindell said Thursday he would, review the situation with an attorney to decide what to do. Dean Knutson, a Republican on the commission, filed complaints in December against Evers and Megan Wolf, the commission's nonpartisan director, over how the state finalized the presidential results. Knutson contended the commission should have had a chance to weigh in on how to handle the election results before the commission's Democratic chairwoman, Ann Jacobs, confirmed them. Evers signed off on the slate of electors shortly after Jacobs made her determination. In responses to Knutson's complaints, Evers and Wolf said they had handled the results properly. Knutson said last week he would not participate in deciding the case because he brought them. That leaves the 6-member commission with a 3-2 Democratic majority for the cases. If Spindell were to step aside, that would give the Democrats a 3-1 advantage. 4 votes are needed to uphold Knutson's complaints. The losing side can appeal the decision to a circuit court. In an interview, Spindell noted the commission was designed to be evenly split between Republicans and Democrats. He said he would take the recusal request seriously, but raised concerns about cases in which many commissioners are asked to step aside. Quote, I think we need to be careful about all this recusing. Pretty soon we may not have any commissioners to vote on anything because there won't be any commissioners that are not recused.
Well, Dominic, that would, and I'm sorry to interrupt at this point, sir, but that would entirely depend on whether or not Wisconsin elections commissioners had inserted themselves fraudulently into the Electoral College process, had claimed that Donald Trump won the election and had cast a vote on the Electoral College fraudulently for said Donald Trump. Well, then and only then, if, let's say 6 of them had done it, would you, face this problem of lack of quorum ability, Dom?
Oh, Spindell spins that idea a little bit here, Curdy. Spindell also floated the idea that Jacobs needed to recuse herself because as the chairwoman, she approved the presidential results on her own. If I'm recusing myself on this thing, Ann's really in the middle of this whole thing, so maybe she should recuse herself as well. Jacobs said she had not thought that she had a conflict of interest, but would consider the possibility if someone asked her to remove herself from the matter. I wouldn't presume to prejudge anything, she said. If someone wants to make that request or that motion, I would obviously look at it. So far, Spindell has been asked to step aside in the case involving Evers, but not the one involving Wolf. It's possible he'll decide to handle both cases the same way because they're interrelated and the alleged conflict exists in both cases. Patrick Marley reporting at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel.
And Jacobs, don't step aside. They're just trying to cancel you. I'm fairly certain that Bob Spindell probably will not step aside. And the fact that he would point out that the Wisconsin Elections Commission is a 3-3 board, well, that's by design, by Republican design. Bob, that's your party. The same party you're willing to commit fraud on behalf of. The former Government Accountability Board was made up of retired judges, and we didn't have to worry about the partisan makeup or the recusal of an individual member of the board because they weren't partisans. That is also by design. So the fact that you, as a partisan, inserted yourself in a partisan matter in a fraudulent fashion, sir, is no defense. Because you also were part of creating this very board that you serve on.
But who was it? Ann Jacobs. Well, she did her job, so she should recuse herself as well.
It's exasperating some days.
What should be the consequence, though? I mean, and I look forward to seeing how Law Forward and Jeffrey
for committing fraud, electoral fraud in the state of Wisconsin. I thought it was felonious.
It would seem to be.
If I went and tried to vote fraudulently, Dom, in the state of Wisconsin, to my memory, I'd be committing something of an election felony. And as a Wisconsin elections commissioner, it seems like Dean Knutson and Bob Spindell might know the laws as they pertain to, like, say, being fraudulent electors even better than I, as a layperson, might.
Yeah, but Trump really won, though. Trump won Wisconsin, Crudy. Don't you know?
Okay, prove it. Predicated on what, Bob Spindell? Show me any evidence. Declare anything other than I think we should throw out all the votes in Milwaukee and Dane counties.
Isn't that all you need?
Well, yeah, if
For
evidence is
Republicans,
not a
I mean-
precursor.
I mean, that's it. That's it.
844-967-2789. You are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Your participation, vital. It's crucial.
And mandatory.
I can't make it mandatory. Can we? Can we do that?
We can say it. If we say it, then it's true. I mean, I'm just doing it like the Republicans do. Crudy, I found this one. I want to throw this one out there quickly, if I may. CNN reporting federal investigators are examining records of communications between members of Congress and the pro-Trump mob that attacked the U.S. Capitol as the investigation moves closer to exploring whether lawmakers wittingly or unwittingly helped the insurrectionists, according to a U.S. official briefed on the matter.
I'm not clear if you mean federal or state level, but, you know, if these Wisconsin Republicans could have helped in that insurrectionist, seditious effort, above and beyond, you know, the 15 that signed off on the letter and the 10 that participated in the electoral fraud, I'm pretty sure they would have done.
Crudy, the data gathered so far includes indications of contact with lawmakers in the days around January 6th, as well as communications between alleged rioters discussing their associations with members of Congress, the official said.
Name dropping and bragging. That'll get you in trouble every time.
See, right. The existence of such communications doesn't necessarily indicate wrongdoing by lawmakers, and investigators aren't yet targeting members of Congress in the investigation, the official noted. Should investigators find probable cause that lawmakers or their staffs possibly aided the insurrectionists, they could seek warrants to obtain the content of the communications. There's no indication they've taken such a step at this point.
So they're aware that there are communications between the insurrectionists and members of Congress, perhaps, and or their staffs, but they haven't gathered up that information. I thought there were ongoing investigations.
The data gathered so far apparently includes indications of contact, so they have to dig a little deeper.
What, they DM each other? Go on Snapchat?
TikTok? Watch my plank? I'm going to do the floss dance now? Hell, I mean, we're using all the cancel culture terminology now.
Please like our page on MySpace. Come back with us. Join us on the phones. 844.
It makes me want to say swing.
967-2789. If the phone lines are full on the other side, I will swing for all of you. More Devils. Come back with us.
Since the sheriff wouldn't stop Trump, Hobie had to find somebody who would.
We really don't know
if I have the authority to do that.
Stop shaking your head again.
Holy mackerel, folks.
This is Pat Slattery of Slattery's Automotive Service in Verona. Established in 1973, I've been servicing and repairing cars in the Madison community for nearly 50 years. You can trust me to tell you what your car really needs and fix it right the first time. Give me a call at 608-848-6123 to schedule an appointment today. Slattery's Automotive Service, your trusted choice for local service and repairs for all your automotive needs.
Rocker, we gave the people live music. Isn't that what they wanted?
Of course not, Jimmy. Give the people live music, and they'll set up a brat stand with a beer caddy.
Will Rocker get his beer and brat? Catch Max Inc. Radio this Saturday evening to find out. We'll have the best of local music from Wisconsin and live music performed in the Devil's Lair. Go to MaxIncRadio.com for the live music schedule. Max Inc. Radio starts at 6 on Devil Radio 92.7 FM.
Did you bring a lawn chair, Jimmy?
Three great stations have teamed up to bring you one tremendous impact. Chicago's Progressive Voice, WCPT 820 AM, Minnesota's Progressive Voice, AM 950, and Devil Radio 92.7 Madison. Representing the best independent progressive talk stations and cities in America. We partnered to offer one affordable advertising package that can cover the Great Lakes region. Now your company or cause can reach our highly engaged, combined monthly audiences of over 250,000 listeners, plus our combined worldwide streams and digital footprints at one low price. Local service, creative, and ad production available for an impact second to none. Call Devil Radio today at 608-819-8255.
Stream Progressive News and Talk 24/7, as well as download exclusive podcasts and interviews at devilradio927.com. That's devilradio927.com. WTTN 1580 AM News Talk Radio, built for the 99%, is rural Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
When they go low, we get high. Tom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You can always join us on the phones at 844-967-2789.
Dominic got up early this morning, relatively speaking, and got in the car. Don't often do that, at least not during the pandemic, because the kids have been off school all freaking year until this morning. My youngest had to get ready, had to go off to high school for the very first time. So Karsten, my youngest, my 14-year-old, last night he wants to show off his outfit, and I, being such a fashion plate in the household, wanted to show it to dad.
Yeah.
So
kid.
anyways,
mom. So this is, to be clear, so freshman year, first time going to high school, technically, right? Of this entire year as his freshman year. It's a big day,
think
right?
of all the hazing he's missed out on so far. They'll have to catch up with summer hazing. But anyways, he decides he's going to dress for comfort, I guess. He's wearing a sweatsuit, gray style, not like a tracksuit, but like a sweatsuit, with the puffy pants. And he's got those tucked into his white socks. And I'm thinking, very fashionable choice, son. And then he's wearing, like a hoodie. And then over the hoodie, he's got a white t-shirt on. And I noticed immediately the coolest part of the outfit, 3 dancing bears above on the chest, on the left pec. And I'm thinking to myself, Grateful Dead?
Right.
What the hell does this kid know about the Grateful Dead? So anyways, then I got to quiz him, right? Because he's wearing the Grateful Dead t-shirt. He must be a big fan. So I said, son, what is your favorite Grateful Dead song? And he responded almost immediately, Casey Jones.
Driving that train.
And my response was, you're grounded. No, I didn't respond as such. But then I said, how about number 2 on your list? He didn't know a second Grateful Dead song.
Oh, come on.
Which led dad to label him, a poser.
Parenting by Crudy.
I like to build their esteem up by calling them,
breaking
names.
it down. You break them down and build them into a new man.
So anyways, then I started searching my own memory for some of my favorite Grateful Dead songs, and Shakedown Street came to mind. And how the very obvious friended the devil. Didn't come to mind.
man.
I don't know what the hell's wrong with me. So I had to share that during the course of the show. I sent him the YouTube video and said, listen to this one. At least you'll have a greater appreciation for the t-shirt. So anyways, he's back to school, but my backyard, the teachers here in Madison, oh, they're not happy. And they had a teach out today, Dom. Like to turn there next. The Madison.com, Madison teachers hold teach out to protest district's return to in-person learning. And I would just say, as an aside, my kid better not come home smelling like patchouli or with the COVID-19.
But we'll take any loose joints you got.
Yes, son. Share those with Dad. Educators and staff from schools across the Madison School District took part in an organized teach-out Thursday to draw attention to what they see as rushed and dangerous return to in-person learning scheduled to start next week. Also Thursday, the district announced a partnership with SSM Health to provide 1,200 COVID-19 vaccines to district staff prioritized by the district. You know, like the football coach, he's a very important guy, including those who have been working in person throughout the pandemic. The vaccination clinic would be held March 12th and April 9th. And Public Health Madison and Dane County announced prioritization of educators to receive the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which was recently approved by the Federal Food and Drug Administration at the Alliant Energy Center starting Tuesday. I must assume that's next Tuesday. So I would say that's good news for teachers.
Yeah,
Local
absolutely.
Teachers Union, Madison Teachers Incorporated, has called for the district to halt its reopening plan until all district staff have had the opportunity to receive the COVID-19 vaccination. The district's current plan will bring students and teachers in kindergarten back into the building Tuesday, grades 1 through 2 and 4K back in subsequent weeks. No dates have been set for grades 3 through 12. And the teachers, they've expressed some concerns, Tom. About a dozen teachers and staff members sat outside of East High School in 30-degree weather Thursday morning, conducting their classes online at socially distanced card tables and behind signs that express their disagreement with the district's decision to reopen, as well as support for fellow staff members. High school counselor Sarah Elmore said she's concerned about the mental health for students as they prepare to navigate the potential return to classrooms without one of their classmates who succumbed to the virus in November. Quick quote, Dom. Are we really preparing to welcome students back in a healthy way? Are we just going to throw everyone at the back end of the year and cause chaos, she asked. Now, there was an East High School student that did pass from COVID-19. I say Morocco. I'm not sure if I've got his name right. I apologize, sir. He died related to the illness. It has weighed heavily on the minds of the student and staffs as well, she said. A lot of students that I've talked to, they don't plan to come back. They're worried about being in the building. Amanda Putst, a social studies teacher at East High School, said she and her colleagues took part in the protest to show their solidarity with staff in elementary schools as they prepare to return to in-person teaching. All of us here have concerns. We all want to go back, but we all want to go back with guaranteed safety. One thing that would help would be vaccinations. Seems like a reasonable request,
I would think.
Dominic, schools from across the district participated in the demonstration with a number of protesters ranging from a handful to a few dozen, depending on the location. About 30 teachers sat outside Muir Elementary School on the west side, bundled up in hats, gloves, winter coats, blankets, while teaching on their laptops. Elementary school teachers were joined by staff and teachers from Memorial High School who said they wanted to support the educators who are scheduled to be the first to return to their classrooms. Come back with us. You're listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Going to be joined by a friend of the devil. He is crazy e-bike Lenny Mattioli. We're going to talk about supply chain. It's disrupted by the COVID-19. If you were unaware, come back. Crazy Lenny talking e-bikes and supply chain on the other side.
Just might get some sleep tonight.
Kind of grabs you by the boo-boo, don't it?
Here we are, the young contender, scrappy, controversial, has an impressive reach. Devil Radio 92.7.
At Chaz Design Build, our tagline is building a better world, one remodeled home at a time. Simply stated, we want to be a part of the solution to leave the world better than we found it. That's why we've invested in a 20 kilowatt solar array, which provides over 90% of our electrical demand at our shop, office, and design studio. And that's why we invest in local causes which provide opportunities and which confront structural inequality. At Chad's Design Build, we are proud to partner with you, building a better world, one remodeled home at a time.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella, Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines. Five Nines is more than just our name. It's the level of service you can expect. We provide 99.999% uptime. That's the highest availability performance you can get. You have enough to worry about with your business data, web, security, and cloud services, so we'll manage your IT so you don't have to. Visit 59s.com. That's the number 5NINES.com.
Rescue Bill. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. Vice President Kamala Harris cast the first of what is likely to be a series of deciding votes as the Senate begins debate on the $1.9 trillion coronavirus rescue package.
On this vote, the yeas are 50, the nays are 50, the Senate being equally divided. The Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the motion to proceed is agreed to.
Senate Republicans continue their effort to block the measure. The bill, aimed at battling the killer virus and nursing the staggered economy back to health, includes direct payments of $1,400 to most Americans. President Biden and fellow Democrats hope the legislation is completed by the middle of this month. Alabama Governor Kay Ivey, unlike other Southern GOP governors, extends the state's mask order until April 9th.
There's no question that wearing masks has been one of our greatest tools in combating the spread of the virus.
Ivey bucked political pressure to lift the mask order, as Republican-led Texas and Mississippi have done. I'm Tim McGuire.
Last night's sleep? Interrupted by pain? Tonight, silence it. With new ZQL Night Pain. Restful sleep, now with powerful pain relief. ZQL Night Pain combines America's #1 sleep aid with a maximum strength pain reliever. So you can fall asleep fast and wake feeling rested, because pain should never get in the way of a great night's sleep. New ZQL Night Pain. Silence pain. Sleep soundly. Available at retailers near you.
A walk and some ice cream with someone sounds like the perfect treat.
Making pizza with someone who's as into it as me? What could be better?
Ready to meet people who love to do the same things you do? It's easy. 1, open laptop. 2, go to OurTime.com. 3, start for free. OurTime is the #1 dating site made for singles over 50. It's easy to use and can help you find people who just want to do something fun. Find someone over 50 who loves to do what you do on OurTime. Go to OurTime.com today and start for free.
For Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Thursday, March 4th. The Assembly Committee on Constitution and Ethics allowed dozens of people to gather in the state capitol yesterday for a public hearing with little social distancing and mostly maskless individuals. Many of the members serving on the committee also did not wear masks. Many of the people testifying were opposed to vaccines and came to denounce government efforts to mitigate the pandemic. Maskless individuals gave testimony that they were opposed to employer mandates for vaccinations, which one of the bills being considered by the committee would outlaw. Sunny skies in the forecast today with slight winds up to 10 miles an hour throughout the day, high today of 37 degrees. Clear skies expected tonight with a slight chance for precipitation, low of 18 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Bicycle, bicycle, bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle, bicycle, bicycle. I want to ride
The big and tall of political talk. Dom and Krutz on The Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We welcome back a friend of the Devils and a fine sponsor. He is Crazy Lenny Mattioli from Crazy Lenny's E-Bikes on Odana Road. Lenny, how you been, man?
I've been fine. I've been just great, enjoying the weather warming up a bit after we had like 11 days where it touched below zero at least once each day. I mean, you could have shot a shotgun off in the bike store and not hit anybody.
Hey, man, unless you're going hunting with Dick Cheney, let's Let's not do that.
Okay.
Hey, Lenny, good to see you, man.
Good to see you guys. I feel bad for you if I'm the only friend you got in here. You could do
been a
better.
tough year,
you
man.
could do better than me.
Most of my former friends have canceled me, Len.
I've run.
Lenny, you're one of our oldest friends, though.
Oh,
You know
that's
what I
right.
mean?
That's for darn sure.
And we like the fact that you've never felt the need to be politically correct, sir.
No, I have not. I have not. I come in and you guys are discussing the COVID and the kids returning to school, and then I'm at my store trying to get bikes, and you call these suppliers. I swear to God, they must sit in front of a PC all day. They don't know anything about the bike business. And what do they want to talk? Well, because of COVID, we're behind on our orders. Hey, I don't call you and say because of COVID, I'm behind on my bills. I got to plan ahead. You got to be, where were they last fall when I was buying containers of bikes, paying in advance, incidentally?
Lenny, let's talk about this in a serious fashion for just a minute. I think I'd let you know. I recently went furniture shopping, one of my least favorite things to do.
Oh, really?
Yes. You wouldn't have liked me back in the American
Did you
TV
move on her
days.
like a bitch, Curdy?
No.
I would rather have a root canal and go furniture shopping.
I share that sentiment, and I still went because the lovely
You're
and
such a wonderful husband.
Well, she had saved up for the furniture. I was assured I wouldn't have to contribute. So, that's what I'm best at, not contributing. But we went into one of the local big box furniture stores, and the eager salesperson that met us near the door said, everything to the right side, you can get like 9 months. Now, the stuff over here, you can get in like 6 months.
6 months to get your product?
6 months to get, like a couch and a couple chairs.
Does sound like a bike store.
And effectively, the excuse, the rationale given Lenny is these supply chains, they're wrecked in between the COVID-19. And I thought I heard something about, we get our insulation from Austin and they've had the weather down there.
Oh, please.
And we're not going to be able to fulfill your orders for like 6 months or longer. So I went to the next store and I got a very similar response. And then I found a place that could deliver in like 10 days. I'm like, done.
Probably a smaller store. Probably was a smaller store.
You would have heard of them. I'm sure as a
That's
guy that
all
was
right.
in the industry, you would have heard of them.
I just think the rugged local businessman, someone who's employing less than 25 people, they're the ones that ride through these crises. I mean, you really can't get bikes. I'm shocked. I called a bike called a high bike. It's a mountain style bike. We ship a lot of these bikes to Colorado and Southern California and such. And they said, well, we're not getting any more 2021 bikes until September.
Oof.
I said, oh, really? Till September. So I mentioned to you, Crudy, when I pay for the radio commercials I buy on your show, expect a check in late October, okay?
And I would say you're accelerating our payment.
Oh, I stand naked. And you're killing me here.
I do like doing business with you,
William
lenders.
Shakespeare said this. You can find it somewhere in the literature. Never pay any bill on time.
Was it you that gave me that advice? Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Got a fine guest and a mediocre sponsor. He is crazy, Lenny Mattioli. He's here with me in the Madison Broadcast Bunker 2.0. Len, but in all seriousness, you've been in retail for years and years and years.
Believe it or not, since 1968.
Oh, wow, man. Have you ever had this sort of a supply chain crisis, this sort of obstacle where you've got potential customers that might want to buy your product and you can't get any more product?
In a word, no. I've never seen it. I've never seen this. You can't, there's probably not in a whole year 100 bicycles made in the United States. Actually, there aren't bicycles made in the United States.
E-bikes, period, or I guess somebody's making bikes, but
I'm talking about
the
e-bikes.
electric
I
bikes.
know about the e-bikes, and
Yes, sir.
That statement happens to be a fact. And you know what else? Furniture, because I was a furniture retailer for decades. We could always get furniture. There's always a factory. There's always a supplier. Now, because everything comes from Asia, including furniture, we can't get that, because of COVID. Bologna sausage. That's just people not doing their jobs.
Folks are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Crazy Lenny from Crazy Lenny's e-bikes joining us in studio. Lenny, it's great to see you, man. When you talk to the suppliers, is there what's their specific reason why you can't get the product? I mean, given the COVID, are sales of e-bikes up? I mean, people have more opportunity now. You're kind of stuck at the home, so I'm going on a bike ride kind of thing. I mean, is it a combination of increased sales and lack of particular products? I mean, batteries, chips. What are we talking about, Lenny?
So long answer. First of all, it is supply and demand in the general sense. I mean, the demand for e-bikes is high. We have, what is it, March 4th today? I mean, the spring really isn't even here officially. And although we had a nice day, lots and lots of people are still coming in. They want to look at this and they want to compare it to that and they want to see this. And it gets hard for us because they're taking notes like a waiter in a busy restaurant, you know, and they're not going to see these bikes if they return in 2 weeks or a month. They won't exist.
Lenny,
I only have bikes because I bought a lot, but it is a strong demand with not just COVID related, but unsophisticated a group of executives on the supply side. They just don't think out of whatever they happen to see on their PC, and I'm not sure they're looking at that because they're always flipping, they're always clicking. They don't even stop for a moment to really read what they're seeing.
Lenny, once upon a time, I'll admit it, I sold cars. It was the only job I could get out of college.
The shame of it.
Well, I didn't feel any dishonor. I treated my customers fairly.
I'm teasing.
It was an entree point to sales management and this fine career I've eventually migrated into. But I recall, Lenny, I never wanted to sell an order out. If it wasn't on my lot, I didn't want to sell it. And you mentioned, you've got inventory. You're not a rookie. You perhaps envisioned some of these supply issues.
This feeble-minded, borderline delusional old Italian guy did see it coming. I don't know what happened to the others.
Right. But Lenny, people basically have to buy the models in the store on the lot, and you've got a couple hundred bikes still in inventory.
We have about 200 on display. We have probably, don't hold me to this number exactly, if 600, maybe 550 to 600 total bikes. So we have a lot of bikes still in the warehouse. But when you look at those 200 that are on display, we're probably 30% now of those we take orders against a scheduled shipment. But remember, we're getting scheduled shipments when those suppliers aren't allowing us to even reschedule shipments unless we want to take bikes in September and October in Wisconsin.
But Lenny, you were telling me your suppliers are looking for cash up front, and I know you're not a cash up front kind of guy.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do. Yeah, they are. They're on overseas, particularly those coming across the Pacific Ocean. They're looking at anywhere from $25,000 to $40,000 prepayment deposit.
Is that one container? Lenny?
Per container, Dominic.
Per container, yeah.
Yes, per container. A container is about 120 bikes. And in those prepayments, there's about a $10,000 non-refundable surcharge.
Oof.
So, you can't cancel.
They're guaranteed to get theirs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a weed guy like that in college.
Yeah, remember The Godfather? Remember the Mario Puzo's great book, The Godfather? And I don't want to be a puppet on a string. And so they took matters into their own hands. And in the early days, they really did protect the peasantry. But of course, in the end, they just became criminals. But there is a situation in the U.S., and I see it in customer decisions. I mean, how many people a day kind of come in, I don't know, I'm in the early stages of looking preliminary to making a decision. And you just want to say, look, you're going to buy an e-bike. Help all of us. We lose if you don't leave with an e-bike, and you lose if you don't leave with an e-bike, because you're not going to come back in April and see more e-bikes. What you're going to see is more customers milling around trying to find something.
So
and higher prices.
What's the delay? I mean, they're fun to ride. They're wonderful products. I have 2 e-bikes in the garage, an Easy Motion and A Bentelli, my son's got.
Bentelli. Yeah.
Got to bring that one by for some servicing. He's rough on that bike.
We do it.
But anyways, Lenny, what is the delay? What is the hesitation? Are you waiting for the right color? Because that may not happen.
That, you know what? If it was a color issue, we'd regularly say, look, you want a red one, take the white one, and when we get a red one, we'll re-exchange it. Even if it takes a month. We'll re-exchange it. The hesitation is a thing that's going on in the U.S. It's part of our culture, and it's got to change. We've got to become what we were. We were very conscientious buyers. Now we're like a buyer stuck. He's got his hands stuck in his pocket, and he can't reach in. You know what we do?
Searching for a
sales
wallet,
training. At sales training, we say, hey, to each other, ladies and gentlemen, we have to remember customers come in are looking for a reason to not buy the bike. They don't know that in the front of their mind, but subliminally, that's it. So they want to be mixed up with all kinds of meaningless details, cubic watts per linear hour, pi r squared, using Newton's law of relativity. And it's just a bike. And if they start out, it's just a bike. But boy, oh boy, when you get that ugly hill, it is so much fun to click on the power that you want to ride your bike not twice as much as you used to ride if you rode at all. You'll want to ride whenever you can get the time. And that's how it is. That's a fact. I've sold thousands and thousands and thousands of e-bikes in the last 11 years. And you know what? Now more than ever, and the customer's most hesitant.
He or she that hesitates is lost, Lenny.
Yeah, what do they say? Our phrase I use, that train left the station. Some say who that snoozes loses, or something like that.
Lenny, do you think the of course the pandemic and the effect that it's had on it, do you derive that this new behavior or this hesitant behavior is because of this mental stress that everyone's going through with this pandemic?
Yes, I think so. I think it's become a little bit habitual to just blame everything on the pandemic, to blame it all. And then, it's tough for so many people to be quarantined, to sit at home. If they're going to get out of the house, they have to get in the car, roll up their windows, drive around. If you want to buy fuel at the gas station, they got to put a mask on. It's a tough lifestyle, and I think it affects us all. We just all have to loosen up. Another thing from a movie, there was a movie about a racehorse, and it did so great in California, and the commentator in the movie says, yes, when the nation needed more than anything a drink, it was prohibition. And what we need now more than anything as citizens here in the pandemic is to have a good time and avoid the pandemic, masks and things. Of course, be careful, but don't put your head in the sand either.
Lenny, I blame the pandemic for my personal chubbiness. It's got to be the pandemic's fault.
You know what? My car has not been running well this whole month. I blame the pandemic.
I bet it's got COVID.
I put a big mask around the headlamps, but it hasn't helped.
Don't hesitate. Go see Lenny. We're going to have beautiful weather coming up. 50s by next week. He or she that hesitates is lost. You don't have to buy one. Just go try one. But the next guy's buying it. If you don't, go see our pal Lenny at Crazy Lenny's e-bikes. Thank you, Lenny. We'll come right back. More Devil's Afghans.
Thanks, Lenny.
Good night.
I moved on her very heavily. In fact, I took her out furniture shopping.
Okay, I gotta go. I'm in the middle of a big bike race.
Lynn and I went shopping at 2 different furniture stores, and they said with COVID closing factories and suppliers, it could take 6 months to take delivery.
You think e-bike factories are any different? Some of our overseas factories want to be paid up front, and then they'll deliver in September. That's 6 months to go.
So no e-bikes to sell, Lynn?
Wrong, Crudy. I'm not a rookie. I have 200 unique e-bikes on my sales floor for test rides, immediate delivery, and our prices still start at $780 for an e-bike.
Crazy Lenny's e-bikes on Odana Road.
Do you suffer from secondhand snoring?
At Primal Air, we help people with a variety of issues that begin in the snoring complex. By strengthening those muscles, we can treat all ages with problems from thumb sucking to snoring and TMJ. We offer virtual appointments too. We can help you and your family breathe smarter, not harder. Find out more at primalair.com or call 608-318-2800.
The people voted to give Democrats a mandate for bold action. From COVID relief to climate change and racial injustice, the problems we're facing are large, and we need bold solutions. We can't afford more obstruction from Senator Ron Johnson and the Republicans. Text ACT to 668-366 to join Move On. Message and data rates may apply. MoveOn.org political action paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising. Poll.moveon.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee.
When you're trying to stay safe, you want the best protection possible. And when it comes to PPE, that means Lutema. Made in the USA with the highest quality materials, Lutema has mask sizes for all. Lutema masks pass ASTM Level 3 and NIOSH efficiency standards and come in a wide variety of colors and types, including M95i. Get your American-made face mask at Lutema.com. That's Lutema.com. And get 40% off your first purchase single item with promo code RADIO at Lutema.com. Talk radio made for the 99% on Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
I remember when I lost my mind.
The Devil's Advocates. Political commentary from the back of the class.
Even your emotions have an echo.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Last segment of the day. If you got something to say, hit us up right now. Toll free 844-967-2789.
Dominic, what you mean is the last FCC regulated segment of the day. We're doing a virtual cocktail party for all our Patreon friends and sponsors. So join us there, at least on Patreon. And hopefully at the virtual cocktail party, that's going to kick off in like an hour and 10 minutes. I've already got plans to meet Lenny in the interim.
Don't be late, Crudy.
Thank our most recent guest, a fine one. He is Crazy Lenny Mattioli. He sells e-bikes, if you're unaware. And he's a fair to middling sponsor. I give him a little heck.
Funny. That was awesome. Lenny's a cool cat, of course, and we appreciate Lenny coming on, and we appreciate his support and sponsorship. But for real, if you've not driven an e-bike, go over by Lenny's shop, take one for a ride. They got a bike tour right behind it. He'll try to get you to buy one. That's what Lenny does. But you're going to want to buy one. If you've not driven an e-bike before, they are so much fun. And truly, they are a blast. You will be hooked once you do it. It's a dream.
And I got to tell you, e-bike's not an inexpensive experience. I mean, you're investing in a fine machine. Lenny's e-bike started about $780. But I got to tell you, if I'm spending some money like you got to spend to get a nice e-bike down at Lenny's shop, I'm looking for a experience. It better be fun.
Right.
And one thing I can tell you, I guarantee you, go see Lenny. You'll have fun riding the e-bike and eventually buying the e-bike, because he or she who hesitates is lost. Go find your e-bike, Crazy Lenny's. I'm done with the pitching. Let's go to the catching of the fine phone calls at 844-967-2789. I always thought you were a catcher.
Dick from Madison, you are up. Welcome, Dick. What do you got for us today?
Hey, Dick.
Have you heard the breaking news, guys?
What's that?
Biden, Trump. He declared victory before the inauguration ceremony started.
Earlier today?
Yeah.
I thought Trump declared victory election night at like 2:00 in the morning.
Right.
We were there,
Right.
or we saw it, Crudy, live. He did.
So Biden should have just done the same thing, right? Today, before the inauguration ceremony for Trump, he should have just declared victory. You know?
Absolutely.
Play into it. I mean, Dick, and I appreciate it. It's funny, and it'd be a nice little, jab to Trump. But honestly, man, I mean, what would that say if the president of the United States gives any sort of lift to the QAnon conspiracy? That'd be bad. I mean, we got a bat crap crazy Republicans out there enough as it is. If Biden were to stand up and play into it, man, oh my God, it'd be crazy.
No, totally. But no, the whole thing is just crazy at every level. I mean, my God, here we are. going back to what year was it? 1932, the last time they did it in March, and these people are. I don't know.
They got to, Dick, you know what? We are the ones. If you talk to the QAnon or the sovereign citizens or any of those, we are the ones, you and me and Crudy and Fancy Brian, the audience, with our heads in the sand. We bought into the big liberal socialist lie or something. You know, and I just don't understand it. You know, the government is comprised of individual people. I mean, if you have a problem with it, you know, go do something about it. You know, run for something. You know what I'm saying? Get in, other than what, you know, passing each other notes on conspiracy.com. I mean, this is ridiculous, people. We have a framework to address the grievances of our citizens. And obviously, the QAnon types and the Trumpsters got them. You lost an election. Well, you did lose the election. You have to accept that first.
You know, Dominic, if I was not a happily married man, I'd go out and find myself a nice QAnon girl. Because you know what they say, crazy in the head, crazy in the bed. 844-967-2789. I see my pal Gordy.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, man, that's your girl, dude.
I hear she gets around. Gordy from Oregon. Welcome, Gordy. What do you got for us?
Hey, Gordy.
Hey, great to talk to you guys again. I really enjoyed your segment with Crazy Bicycle Lenny there. I've got several of his e-bikes. And the story I want to tell was a year and a half ago, my son broke his back in a skydiving accident.
Oof.
And it was the doctors told him he may never walk again. And he maintained a positive attitude. And then about 7 months after his accident, he came over to my place and said, hey, I want to ride your e-bike. And here's a guy who was on crutches. And I helped him balance the e-bike, and because I got the one that's got the little, you can go all electric if you wanted to.
Yeah.
He got on that thing and he took off, and even though he really couldn't move his legs, he could move one leg, but the other one was still paralyzed. He got going, and the biggest thrill of his life, seeing that smile come back on his face after being trapped in that wheelchair for 7 months, it was an amazing feeling. And then now he uses that e-bike for his therapy. And even though he doesn't have any sensation in his right leg again, he's up and walking. And someday he hopes to go back to being a pilot again. So kudos to Lenny and his e-bikes and the important factor it played into my son being able to get out of that chair, the wheelchair, and seeing what he could do with his life in his road to recovery. I just wanted to share that with you boys.
Gordy, that is a hell of a great story. I hope that Lenny is listening, although I suspect he's well into the cocktail hour by now. But we will share that story with Lenny. I got a question for you. I know you're the guy that owns Copy's Greenhouse, and people are going to want to start planting stuff. Gordy, tell them it's too early for tomatoes.
It is too early, but I've been meaning to give you a call to come in and start getting our commercials ready. We're going to open mid-April, and so I'll be seeing you boys shortly.
All right, man.
And Gordy, one more thought. Sounds like you're going to need another e-bike. Should I call Lenny and see if he'll barter for tomato plants, sir?
Yeah, I'll go in and talk to him myself. We'll work something out.
I'm sure two fine businessmen like yourselves, Gordy, I'm sure you will work it out. Let's give our pal Pizza the box. The final word. You got like 45 seconds, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, I remember I used to look up on the skyline and see Gordy Kopke riding in his ultralight plane too. That guy's crazy, man. He's balloons, all that stuff. He used to do all that. So, hey, listen, no sense in being embarrassed or ashamed to being a white guy. Go out and get the other white guys that are embarrassed to stand up. And you know why? There's a reason why they're embarrassed, okay? They have a guilty complex over this. There's nothing cool about the white culture, man. It's got a history of wiping out everybody else's culture. Just relax. We might be white on the outside, but I'm not white on the inside, brother.
Nothing cool about the white culture. You've never seen me dance. Thank you all for listening. Stick around. The Earl Ingram Show is next in Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood.
like the stupid people?
I don't know, but I'm suspicious.
I will call them from now on losers, because that's what they are. They're losers. Evil losers.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. Cody and I have been doing this show for almost 10 years, and we've never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience.